Applaud. Some passion? Yes. Yes. Thank you. That's great. We are still waiting for the ministers. They have a meeting and a tour of the premises. I cannot say exactly when they will arrive. I can say a few words, practical words, just if you're interested. You can actually start to tweet. How many are on Twitter in here? One. Yeah. Two. Thanks, John. Social media impact is huge in the world. We can see that, especially in the climate world, obviously. Well, I'm sure you are more people on Twitter. So Twitter you have over there. Hashtag CIF10, finally a short Twitter tag. Wonderful. Means that you can write a lot of stuff about what is going to happen here today, people you meet, you can take pictures, you can really put this on the agenda. Climate action on the agenda. That's why we are here. This is a conference about climate action, about really pushing things forward. You can also use internet when you're outside. Of course, you're not doing it in here otherwise, looking at other things than the speakers. That's the login, okay? Guest spot, and then that's the login information. And you can be logged in. We're going to try potentially a short web-based question to you later here in the morning. And then you need to be on the internet. And if you want to see the program, if you want to see the bios of speakers, because I will only introduce speakers with their title, very short to save time, you can find that under the web page. So this is a climate environment-friendly conference, no printed papers. You find the program, the bios on the web page. And you can find so many other things on that web page anyway. So I still encourage you to visit it. Beautiful pictures, films, and all the work that CIF is doing. Also, translation. You will see that on the bottom line there. So English, channel 1, French, channel 2, Arabic, channel 3, and Spanish on channel 4. That's all I had for now. I have still not introduced myself. Don't worry, I will. You may wonder, who is this guy standing there on stage talking? Can anyone do that? Well, not anyone. Anyway, what I want you to do now, while we are waiting for the ministers, is actually to talk to each other a little bit. Exchange views, social events. Conferences are really about social events. So talk to each other, stay in the room, talk to each other, relax a little bit, think about things you want to get out of these 2 days, and how you, as individuals, and we as a group, can actually push climate action. I'm not sure exactly when we will start. I will not start until I have the ministers in front of me here. That's for certain. Thanks. Talk to you later. Okay. Oops.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm Inga Thorsen from German Development Corporation.
Oh, nice to meet you. We're going to be on the panel.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. We talked a little bit about that I got different instructions going back and forth. Yes. And the last instruction I got was that you will, we should have more of a Q&A. However, then I heard from John that no, we were supposed to give the statements, which I was told last week that there were statements, and then I was told yesterday no. So I will ask a very open first question. What do you think about the IPCC? What is important? That gives you an opportunity to give a longer answer and dwell on whatever you want to talk about. If you keep it a bit shorter, I will ask follow-up questions. Okay. So there will be time to really get your messages. So, honorable ministers, excellencies, dear colleagues, welcome to this morning session. Welcome to this beautiful place. Isn't it amazing when we are going to talk about climate action to be at one of the largest solar power plants in the world, in this beautiful environment, this beautiful country, a Monday morning. You cannot start a week better than this. I actually envy the director of this plant to enter here Monday morning and knowing this is what I work on the entire week, the future and the present. My name is Johan Kylenstierna. I have a lot of different things that I do, but today I'm the Master of Ceremony, which is wonderful at this conference. You see my titles there. We have 2 exciting days ahead of us with plenary sessions, parallel sessions, and not least a lot of interaction and discussions. How do we take the climate action agenda forward? How do we, as CIF is trying to do, bring transformational change to society, step up action to make sure that we actually reach the targets that science has told us we need to reach? We're going to have a few, if you can put on the slide with some information here, I'm going to give you some practical informations. We have a program which is available on the internet where you can see bios of all the speakers and you can follow the program. You can see which different sessions you want to attend. We have a guest spot where you can then also link in to internet. We're going to have a question later on. We're going to try you out a little bit on the web base. I asked before how many of you are Twittering. All the ministers are Twittering. I know that. You're all online, active. So if you want to Twitter, you have the hashtag over there as well. Also, just some very practical information about this morning session. It's going to be a plenary. So today, more plenary type sessions. Tomorrow, more parallel sessions. Today, we're going to have a shorter lunch, 1 hour. Tomorrow, a longer lunch with sessions intertwined in the lunch. But that's it. That's the practical information. Business is all, isn't it? Action is all. So let's move forward to action. I'm very pleased to introduce our first speaker, Honorable Aziz Rabah, the Minister of Energy, Mines and Sustainable Development from Morocco. Can you please enter the floor and give him an applause, please? Welcome.
Pleased to see switch here in Morocco.
Thank you.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think you need the translation. I will speak in Arabic. الترجمة نعم بس ست هيك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على مولانا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السادة الوزراء، السيدات والسادة الرؤساء المدراء العامين والمدراء، طبعا ممثلي عدد من الدول الصديقة والشقيقة، ممثلي عدد من المؤسسات الدولية الحاضرة معنا، على رأسها صندوق الاستثمار يعني في المناخ، السيدات والسادة ممثلي الشركات ووسائل الإعلام، الحضور الكريم. طبعا هذه افتتاح هذا النشاط وهذه الفعالية المهمة بالنسبة إلينا. طبعا مجموعة من الرسائل أريد أن أرسلها إلى أصدقائنا وصديقاتنا الحاضرين معنا. نؤكد لكم أن بلادنا فخورة جدا بما تحقق لحد الساعة بعد 10 سنوات تقريبا من إطلاق السياسة الطاقية في 2009 من طرف جلالة الملك حفظه الله، ونحقق نتائج متميزة لدرجة أن جلالة الملك في آخر اجتماع ترأس لجنة الطاقة التي يحضر فيها وزراء والسيد رئيس المدير العام مازن والمدير العام للكهرباء والمديرة العامة للهيدروكربورات والمعادن، فطلب منا أن نرفع من سقف يعني طموحاتنا. ربما سنتجاوز إن شاء الله في 2020 ما تقرر سابقا، وسنتجاوز في 2030 ما تقرر سابقا. الحمد لله هناك إنجازات نوعية أعتقد ونحن رهنا إشارات الإخوان ديالنا والأصدقاء ديالنا في كل الدول لكي نتقاسم معكم هذه التجربة المتواضعة ونستفيد طبعا من كل ما فيها. طبعا نفتخر أيضا بالشراكة معكم كمؤسسات دولية، كمؤسسات مالية، كمؤسسات التعاون الدولي. وأنا سعيد أن أرى ممثل مؤسسة سويدية، وأعتقد وأهنئ على تشكيل الحكومة الأخيرة في السويد. أتمنى أن نزور السويد أو يزورونا لكي ننسق معهم أكثر. طبعا هناك دول أخرى، هناك ألمانيا، فرنسا، إسبانيا، الصين، روسيا، الإمارات، السعودية، أمريكا، كندا على حال. لكن على رأس هذه الدول هناك أصدقائنا وإخواننا من الدول الإفريقية الذين نسعد أن نتعاون معهم. جلالة الملك حريص كل الحرص على أن نذهب بعيدا مع الدول الإفريقية في مجال المناخ، في مجال البيئة، وفي مجال الطاقة، وفي مجال التعاون. وهناك مبادرات أطلقت كما تعلمون في كوب 22 تتعلق بالساحل، تتعلق بحوض الكونغو، تتعلق أيضا بدول أخرى. ثم آخر مبادرة يعني ديزرت تو باور التي الآن بالنسبة لدول الساحل. فنحن سعداء أن نشتغل مع إخواننا وأصدقائنا في الدول الإفريقية، ونحن أفارقة ونعتز بأننا أفارقة، كما نعتز بأننا مسلمين وعرب، كما نعتز بهذه الشراكة مع كل الدول في العالم. نفتخر بهذا التعاون. يمكن أن نقول لكم إذا كانت من رسالة من خلال يعني أنه من لا أمل، من لو ديزيسبوار إلى الإسبوار، من لو ديزير إلى الإسبوار. يعني كانت مناطق كثيرة في بلادنا يعني كانت تنظر إلى عندها الحجر والشمس والريح ولا شيء، كيف تتحول فعلا إلى أمل، كيف تتحول إلى مناطق للتنمية المستدامة، كيف يمكن من أحجارها أن نخرج المعادن النفيسة والتنمية المحلية، كيف يمكن من شمسها ومن ريحها أن نطلق مبادرات نوعية مثل ما لاحظتم الآن في هذا المشروع الكبير، كيف يمكن فعلا أن نصنع اقتصاد جديد ما يسمى بالاقتصاد الأخضر، وكيف يمكن أن نتحدى هذه التغيرات المناخية. رغم وأعتذر لممثلي الدول الكبار، رغم أننا كدول إفريقية لا نساهم في التغيرات المناخية إلا بأقل من 4%، في حين أنتم ممثلي الدول الكبار تساهمون بأكثر من 90%. ولذلك رسالة على أننا نحن كدول نامية ولا نؤثر في المناخ ولا في البيئة بشكل كبير ملتزمون من خلال هذه المشاريع النوعية التي تلاحظون، من خلال المشاريع في مجال الطاقات المتجددة بكل أنواعها، والتي تعم كافة التراب الوطني من شماله إلى جنوبه صحرائه، ومن شرقه إلى غربه، وفي كل المناطق وبكل التكنولوجيات وبكل الشراكات وبكل أيضا العقود التي يمكن أن تخطر لكم على البال. فهذه رسالة على أنه كما قلت من مكان الذي كان لا أمل لو ديزيسبوار إلى مكان يبعث الأمل على أنه ممكن في الدول الإفريقية، ممكن في الدول النامية، من استغلال مؤهلاتها الطبيعية، وما أكثرها في الدول الإفريقية، وما أكثرها في الدول الإفريقية، ما أكثرها في النيجر، ما أكثرها في زامبيا، ما أكثرها في غانا، ما أكثرها في كل الدول الإفريقية. أعتذر إذا لم أذكر كل الدول الإفريقية الحاضرة معنا. يعني ما أكثر هذه المؤهلات الطبيعية التي كنا نفكر كيف نحميها، فإذا بنا الآن معكم نفكر كيف يمكن أن تكون مصدر التنمية المستدامة، مصدر الطاقات المتجددة، مصدر خلق القيمة المضافة. أنا أعتقد هذه فرصتنا بالنسبة للدول النامية. مرحبا بكم في المغرب، مرحبا بكم في ورزازات التي الآن كانت تسمع على أنها مركز للسينما في العالم وفي إفريقيا، فهي مركز للتنمية المستدامة ومركز للطاقات المتجددة، وإن شاء الله في المستقبل ستكون ورزازات وهذه المناطق مركزا للتنمية المستدامة في المعادن، لأن هناك معادن نفيسة، معادن كثيرة، ونعتقد هذا أيضا وبين المعادن والطاقة، وبين المعادن والطاقة والماء. أنا قبل قليل كنت أشرح لبعض الأصدقاء في هذا المكان محاطين بالجبل، بالثلج، بالسد اللي هو قريب من هذه الطاقة الشمسية، بالواحات، بأن كل مؤشرات التنمية المستدامة في مكان صحراء هي حاضرة. وبالتالي الذكاء الجماعي المغربي الذي ينسجم مع التعاون الدولي ومع المؤسسات الدولية والمالية ومع بعض الدول، استطعنا أن نعطي نموذج يمكن أن يحتذى به بإيجابياته وسلبياته. الكمال لله، احنا جاهزون أن نتعاون معكم. أنا جد سعيد أن أكون معكم في هذا الصباح. لن أطيل عليكم، عندكم عمل لمدة يومين، لكن عندي رسالة أنه بعد 10 سنوات الصيف أن نقوم بعملية تقييم، وأنا أعتقد يعني من خلال البرنامج ستقوم بعملية تقييم هل فعلا ما تقرر من ملايير الدولارات هل فعلا ذهبت إلى الدول النامية، هل فعلا ذهبت إلى المشاريع الكبرى والمشاريع الصغرى، هل فعلا ذهبت إلى حلول مناسبة للدول النامية، لأن ليست كل التكنولوجيات وليست كل الحلول التي يمكن أن تكون في دول أخرى هي مناسبة للدول الإفريقية. ثم أيضا أن ننظر إلى المستقبل، إلى 600 مليون إفريقي الذين لا يصلون إلى الكهرباء، أن ننظر إلى الآلاف القرى التي لا تستفيد من عائد التنمية، أن ننظر إلى التهديدات التي تحيط الآن بالدول الإفريقية، ولا سيما أن هذا الصندوق هو للدول النامية. كثير عندنا يعني كثير من المؤهلات الطبيعية مهددة، كثير من المدن الكبرى في إفريقيا مهددة، كثير من السواحل مهددة، كثير من المناطق الخضراء مهددة، أو كثير من المناطق الصحراء هي أيضا مهددة بها تتحول إلى خضراء، لكن إذا لم تكن هناك تنمية قد تكون مدمرة. كما تلاحظون في بعض الدول أن في كثير من المناطق الصحراوية هناك فيضانات كبيرة. إذا لم نعد أنفسنا لهذه التحولات الطبيعية والمناخية ربما قد لا نستفيد. ولذلك أعتقد تقييم لما مضى والنظر إلى العشرية المقبلة، ونحن معكم لكي نتعاون يعني في هذا الاتجاه. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that passionate opening and for really framing the agenda for us over the next 2 days, how important it is, and also highlighting the opportunities, not least. There are plenty of opportunities. Turning deserts into energy, that's beautiful. Turning despair into hope. They are connected, so thank you so much for that. We are at a beautiful site. We are surrounded by opportunity. That's what it's all about here. So I'm very pleased to introduce our next welcome speaker, Mr. Mustafa Bakouri, the president of MASN. Please give him a warm applause as he enters the stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Pour ma part, je vais parler en français. D'abord, pour vous dire tout le plaisir et l'honneur pour MASN et pour nous de vous recevoir ici, dans ce site qui évidemment n'existait pas au moment de la création du CIF. Et je voudrais aussi remercier le CIF, en la personne de Mafalda Duarte et toute l'équipe du groupe Banque mondiale, du groupe BAD, d'avoir décidé d'organiser cet événement ici à Ouarzazate. Et je crois que cela représente une grande symbolique. Parce que, de manière générale, pour la finance, et en particulier pour ce genre de fonds, souvent on se pose la question, mais à quoi ça sert? Je crois que cela nous permet de démontrer que la finance n'est considérée comme telle que si elle sait être utile. Et je crois que c'est l'un des enseignements, sans attendre de faire des évaluations beaucoup plus profondes, c'est l'un des enseignements que je voudrais mettre en avant tout de suite. D'ailleurs, pour moi, c'est la finalité de la finance, c'est de faciliter le développement, c'est de faciliter les projets, c'est aussi de faciliter l'innovation. Parce que, et M. le ministre l'a rappelé tout à l'heure, il y a 9 ans, nous avons dû, au Maroc, nous résoudre à ce que le moment était venu pour que, contrairement à ce qui avait été fait depuis l'indépendance, le moment était venu pour que dans ce secteur énergétique qui se trouve au carrefour des secteurs économiques et au carrefour du développement social, il était important de nous prendre notre destin en main en termes de planification stratégique. Alors que jusque-là, nous courions derrière les projets, nous développions des projets pour satisfaire nos besoins qui, évidemment, progressaient de manière importante. Et nous étions d'autant plus acculés à le faire que, désormais, il s'est posé à nous la question de gérer notre dépendance énergétique, qui, évidemment, comme vous le savez, et c'est le cas de beaucoup de pays, est un élément important dans les politiques économiques. Et deuxièmement, nous étions arrivés à un moment où la problématique environnementale ne pouvait plus être uniquement présente dans les convictions. Elle devait se traduire dans les actes et dans les stratégies concrètes de développement. Le Maroc, au niveau le plus haut, au niveau de Sa Majesté le Roi, avait cette conviction. Et en 2009, il fallait combiner les deux objectifs. Se projeter à travers une stratégie énergétique qui nous permette de nous autoriser des ambitions de développement économique, mais aussi intégrer de manière concrète les impératifs et l'effort que notre pays a décidé de faire aux côtés de la communauté internationale en faveur de la limitation des changements climatiques. Et nous l'avions fait avec enthousiasme et avec audace, d'autant plus que nous avions détecté au niveau international des dynamiques en faveur des énergies renouvelables pour le secteur énergétique. En 2009-2010, nous avions constaté que les efforts de recherche et les budgets de recherche alloués à ce secteur étaient très consistants au niveau d'un certain nombre de pays. Et pour nous, ces efforts ne pouvaient pas ne pas se traduire par des résultats concrets sur la dynamique des énergies renouvelables, sur la performance des technologies renouvelables et sur les conditions économiques. De l'autre côté, nous détections aussi une plus grande sensibilité et une plus grande préoccupation des opinions publiques au niveau international à l'égard des changements climatiques. Et pour nous, cela devait se traduire aussi par la nécessité de stratégies réelles et des plans d'action concrets. Et à partir de là, un certain nombre de mécanismes commençaient à se mettre en place. D'ailleurs, le CIF en fait partie. Et je pense que nous avions été parmi les premiers bénéficiaires du concours de ce fonds et du concours aussi d'autres soutiens que je voudrais saluer ici, puisque M. le ministre l'a rappelé tout à l'heure. Notre choix a été de nous engager dans une grande ambition, mais notre idée, c'est que cette ambition, elle ne concerne pas que le Maroc. Elle est beaucoup plus collective. La problématique climatique concerne tout le monde, en fait. Et pour ça, il était important pour nous aussi d'entreprendre ces projets dans un cadre collectif, y associer les meilleurs dans chacun des domaines, les meilleurs acteurs financiers, les meilleurs développeurs, et je salue ceux qui sont présents avec nous aussi, les meilleurs ingénieurs, parce que, et nous en étions conscients dès le début, le combat que nous avions à l'époque, ce n'était pas uniquement de faire des projets pour satisfaire nos besoins, mais de démontrer que nous étions capables de rentrer dans une dynamique de compétitivité des énergies renouvelables. Il ne s'agissait pas pour nous, comme malheureusement dans certains cas, on fait les renouvelables pour en faire des opérations de communication, mais pour faire des renouvelables, pour en faire une vraie alternative aux besoins énergétiques et donc au développement. Notre ambition de développement économique et social est telle, et elle n'est que représentative de ce qu'il y a dans beaucoup d'autres pays. Nous devons résorber les déficits sociaux. Nous devons exploiter de manière utile et vertueuse les potentiels économiques qui sont encore extrêmement importants. Et dans les économies d'aujourd'hui, l'énergie est une donnée importante. Seulement, nous voulions passer le message qu'il n'y a pas de fatalité à ce que l'usage de l'énergie se fasse au détriment du climat. Et je crois que c'est ce que nous sommes en train de réussir quelque part. Notre objectif d'atteindre 42% de notre mix électrique basé sur les énergies renouvelables est en passe d'être réalisé. Nos objectifs de 2020 seront atteints. Les objectifs de 2030 qui sont de 52%, jusqu'à la dernière réunion, c'est devenu 52% minimum. Donc, ça veut dire que si on arrive à faire plus, ça sera bienvenu. Et donc, nous sommes en train de nous mobiliser tous pour faire en sorte que ces objectifs soient atteints. Ceci concerne le secteur électrique. Mais il est évident que notre ambition, c'est d'utiliser le renouvelable dans tous les domaines de l'énergie qui pourraient l'être. Nous allons pouvoir, à la faveur de ces résultats qui sont en train de se réaliser et qui renforcent notre confiance quant à la pertinence de ce choix, à passer à d'autres secteurs, à d'autres domaines, et donc à commencer à réfléchir aussi aux défis de demain. La mobilité durable, l'usage de l'énergie renouvelable dans l'agriculture, l'usage au niveau de l'efficacité énergétique au niveau des bâtiments. Donc tout ceci sont encore des chantiers, je ne dirais pas intacts, mais sur lesquels nous avons encore des potentiels extrêmement importants qui permettront de démontrer qu'il n'y a pas de fatalité à ce que le développement économique continue de se faire en recourant à l'énergie, mais que cette énergie, d'abord, elle est disponible, et deuxièmement, elle n'a pas forcément les impacts que certains craignent, au contraire. Et c'est pour ça que dans tous nos projets, nous étions attachés dès le départ à ce que notre approche soit intégrée, dans le sens que nos projets énergétiques, et vous avez vu, et pour ceux qui n'ont pas encore visité, je crois que c'est prévu durant ces 2 jours, nous avons choisi, même si notre stratégie ne se limiterait pas uniquement à ce choix, de développer des projets d'envergure qui permettent d'utiliser avantageusement le fait que notre pays dispose d'un réseau qui couvre pratiquement tout le territoire national. Et donc la démarche a été de développer les projets là où la ressource renouvelable est la mieux et à la meilleure qualité, de développer, de générer de l'électricité et de l'injecter dans le réseau. Parfois en utilisant aussi des stockages pour optimiser l'utilité pour ce réseau. Mais à chaque fois, nous nous sommes attachés à ce que ces projets, en plus de l'électricité qu'ils génèrent, produisent des effets positifs sur leur environnement immédiat. En termes de développement local, nous avions par exemple été très attentifs à ce que les villages qui entourent ce site puissent bénéficier de désenclavement, d'électricité. Malheureusement, certains ne l'avaient pas à l'époque. Aujourd'hui, c'est le cas de tous les villages, d'avoir de l'eau potable et aussi de travailler sur l'inclusion. Et je crois que c'est aussi des sujets qui vont être abordés au cours de cette rencontre. Aussi veiller à ce que le tissu industriel national puisse prendre part à cette dynamique sur une base compétitive, c'est-à-dire que ces acteurs industriels puissent aussi faire l'effort qui convient de leur côté pour investir dans la formation, dans les outils, pour prendre part de manière avantageuse. En bref, l'idée, c'était de pas seulement développer des projets électriques, mais de créer un écosystème autour de la valorisation des ressources renouvelables. Et je crois que c'est ça la finalité d'un développement durable aussi, inclusif, et qui est la priorité de tous les acteurs de développement dans nos différents pays. Donc nous sommes ravis de saisir cette occasion pour partager avec vous cette première mi-temps, si je puis dire, puisque nous avons cette deuxième mi-temps pour tenir nos objectifs, d'en faire une occasion d'échange, mais aussi d'apprentissage, parce que j'ai vu la richesse des sujets qui sont abordés avec vous, les expériences diverses dans les nombreux pays où le CIF est intervenu jusqu'à présent, et nous sommes enthousiastes à tous les apprentissages que nous-mêmes, nous allons pouvoir en bénéficier. Et je voudrais évidemment remercier tous ceux qui sont venus de partout, remercier messieurs les ministres, remercier messieurs les ambassadeurs, messieurs, dames les ministres, et messieurs les ambassadeurs de venir ici et de contribuer au succès de cet événement. J'espère que les 2 jours seront extrêmement bénéfiques, ce dont je suis certain, et je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bukhari. That was extraordinary, I think, summarizing so many of the issues that we need to discuss in the next couple of days. How the energy transformation, not least, can be inclusive, how it brings sustainable development, how it links to local development, how it builds on collaboration and cooperation. Minister Rabat, you wanted to provide some additional comments, so please take the floor.
J'ai laissé ce message après le discours de M. Bakouri, Mustafa, pour vous dire C'est vrai, ce que nous avons décidé, c'est d'avoir un vrai développement inclusif. De toute façon, Sa Majesté nous a demandé maintenant d'évaluer le modèle socio-économique et de réfléchir ensemble pour avoir un nouveau modèle de développement socio-économique. Mais il est inclusif politiquement parlant. C'est un message. On ne peut pas avoir un développement durable si on n'a pas une vraie compétition politique, mais saine. Et ça, c'est un exemple dans le domaine du développement durable et des énergies renouvelables. Je suis dans le gouvernement. M. El Bakouri est un des leaders. Il était même président d'un parti politique de l'opposition. Et vous voyez comment on travaille ensemble. Et c'est le vrai message. C'est d'avoir une compétition économique, sociale, politique saine, mais d'avoir vraiment la confiance aux compétences nationales, quelle que soit l'appartenance. C'est une des clés de réussite de cette politique. Et on travaille ensemble. Mais il y a aussi la technocratie aujourd'hui qui occupe une place extraordinaire. M. Hafidi n'appartient à aucun parti politique, ni de l'opposition, ni du gouvernement, de la majorité, mais il est là pour développer, si vous voulez, l'électricité, l'eau, et dans une des plus grandes, si vous voulez, institutions stratégiques du pays. C'est vraiment un développement inclusif, même en termes politiques. Ça.
Thank you. Thank you very much again to stress, I mean, collaboration, cooperation, technocrats, even they are important, you know, engineers, good administrators, bureaucrats, we need them all for the transformation, no doubt. 10 years CIF has been operating now, and it's fascinating to hear a presentation where we are at this extraordinary site. It didn't exist 10 years ago at all. So we can see that we can make a difference if we do the right things, if we push the right buttons, if we get the collaboration going. And CIF, you can imagine, is a huge team of a couple of thousand people. No? Actually, I asked, and you know, around 30, 35 people behind all this. Extraordinary. Of course, working in close collaboration. That's the whole idea. So the CIF team is not just doing what they're supposed to do day to day. They're also putting together conferences like this one to take stock of what works, what doesn't work, what can we learn. And to hear more about that, and a welcome from the organizer, the organization, Ms. Mafalda Duarte, the head of CIF, the Climate Investment Fund. Please take the floor. Give her a warm applause.
Good morning, bonjour à tous. I am not going to speak Arabic, and I will not speak French either. If you permit me, I will speak in English. I'm trying to see all of you, so many known people that we have worked together all of these years. Honorable ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and friends, many colleagues here today. Let me start by thanking Minister Rabat and Mr. Bakouri's words, and make their words my own. And if you allow me, and warmly welcoming you to Morocco, Ouarzazate, this Noor solar complex, and last but not least, our CIF 10th anniversary event. I thank the government of Morocco and Mazen for so graciously hosting us here. For me, this is a personal privilege to be here. Like many of you, Mr. Bakouri had mentioned 2009. I was there at the time. I have been lucky enough to help make this magnificent facility a reality. And it fills me with great pride to see it now up and running. In fact, I was here in October to visit it for the first time and was very impressed. I had been working and contributing to making this a reality from an office, from other places, and had never been to the site. I was very, very impressed. Noor, Morocco, has pushed the boundaries of concentrated solar power. This would not have been conceivable 10 years ago. I have been with SIF. My journey with SIF is almost a 10-year journey. And this story that we are going to hear about and we are seeing here from Morocco is a story that I see repeat itself time and again in the many countries, across the 72 countries that we are supporting worldwide. I had the privilege of last year of visiting 10 countries. 10th anniversary, visit 10 countries and see on the ground the projects, hear the testimonies of people that are benefiting from our collective efforts. Some of them touched me more than others. Some have touched me profoundly. I remember 26-year-old Kenneth from Ghana. Where are our friends from Ghana here? A 26-year-old young man who had planned to immigrate to Spain, but with our efforts and the efforts, of course, of government of Ghana, now has decided to stay in the country and grow his own cocoa farm. You'll see pictures of him actually outside. There's a portrait of him outside, and you will see his face appear in some of the presentations we will make. There were other in Ghana that I was very touched by as well. Another one, Jeanette from Chile. It was a very remote location. We had to travel all day with no cafe on the road, with no gas station, nothing, in a very remote location of Chile. And this impressive lady, Jeanette, was telling me and the team that was with me the story of how a 24/7 access to energy had transformed her life. She managed to open a business, a laundry business. She managed to study remotely. And very important for me as well as a mother, she was telling me about how now she can reach a doctor if her kids get sick at night. Before, this was not a possibility. So to me, when we reach these development objectives, these are development objectives, and as Minister was saying, and Mr. Bakuri as well, this is about development and contributing to climate change simultaneously. So when we reach these development objectives, while we meet our climate goals, I think I myself at least stay with this renewed belief that we can change lives and we can transform our societies. However, what continues to amaze me is that so few people seem to know about the SIF and our results, our stories. And I don't think the problem is exclusive to SIF. I think actually, you know, the narrative that is predominant out there is a negative climate narrative. We don't hear so much about climate success stories. And I think it is important that we make an effort, a collective effort, to make sure that we put those stories out, because those stories are there, they are here. And they are in many other countries, in your countries that you represent here today. So I believe that conveying this urgency of climate action is absolutely critical, but this pessimist narrative is not going to take us or is not going to inspire the kinds of climate action we urgently need. We are reminded of the power of ambitions and solutions thinking when we come to places like Noor. I hope that you have a chance to visit. You've seen some of it as you were coming through. There will be opportunities for you to visit the plant and let yourself be really inspired. I think this is a place that reminds us of what is possible and what can be achieved when we set our minds, our ambition, our energy to it. Here we are reminded of what comes from precisely aligning this ambition, strong leadership, and serious financial backing. These were the three forces that came together when the CIF were established in 2008. Remember, 2008, what was happening at the time? We had one of the most serious financial crises that the world has faced, and we had faltering climate negotiations. In this context, which we might consider a difficult context, the CIF, the founding CIF countries, which are here today, many of you are here, if not all, here today, and the multilateral development banks, also all represented here today, managed to establish, carve out this first-of-its-kind mechanism. This is a set of funds, as most of us know, if not all, that were established to get things moving in the right direction. And at the time, the thought was, with or without climate agreement, we are going to start demonstrating the way forward. Since then, the CIFs, as you know, a more than $8 billion fund has helped catalyze impressive gains in 72 developing countries. We have more than 300 projects, and these projects are leading to the generation of 26.5 gigawatt of clean energy. This is enough energy to power a country the size of Vietnam. 8.5 billion people are gaining improved access to energy, and I agree with Minister Rabah and Mr. Bakuri, absolutely essential agenda to address SDG 7. An area the size of Congo is being brought under improved forest management, and 45 million people will be better equipped to cope with the effects of climate change, thanks to the CIF and you as our partners. These significant results are a proof that, and I think it's important to stress this, given the times we live, these are a proof that multilateral climate finance really does work. But, of course there's a but, these gains that we are seeing are not enough. We know very well that we are off track and remain way behind the levels of investment that are required to transition the world's economies. The OECD estimates that we are going to need to invest almost $7 trillion in infrastructure every single year until 2030 to stay within a 2-degree scenario. Let's put this into perspective. We might need to invest more than the value of the entire current global infrastructure stock by 2030. And the issue is that most of this programming is going to happen in the next couple of years. So there's even beyond the 11 years window that IPCC told us about, we now have an even shorter window to make sure that these investment decisions, the significant investment decisions, planning decisions that are going to happen in the next 2 years, put us on the track that we need and not locked into a carbonized future. I think the role of climate finance in this context has never been greater. At the same time, we know that public resources are quite constrained, which means that we must deploy them more wisely than ever before. Every single dollar of climate finance needs to help us catalyze systems-wide changes, including by pulling in the trillions of dollars of capital that are currently sitting on the sidelines. It's on this fundamental premise that the CIF financing model was originally designed and has been fine-tuned over the last decade. Our model has been very effective at direct leverage, every CIF dollar spent is on average unlocking an additional $9.5 of investment in clean energy. There's a lot of creative accounting out there, and we see some of that. We see leverage ratios being made public that one can question. But you know, we are very proud of these leverage or co-mobilization ratios. So by going in early, taking calculated risks and deploying finance at scale, the CIF approach generates multiplier effects. And let me give you the example of Turkey. Our colleagues from Turkey are also here, over there. We have a large program in Turkey, of course, but just as an example, a $10 million CTF loan allocated to a national bank kickstarted a whole new line of business worth at least 75 times that amount. So we have a question before us, which is what next? I think there are 3 facts that should inform our collective answer to this question. And this question is very, very important, as we will be debating today and tomorrow and in the next couple of months. Number 1, we are dangerously close to a no-return climate scenario. The science, I hope that there's nobody here doubting the science. The science is crystal clear on this. Number 2, we only have a couple of years to get infrastructure investments right to avoid lock-in. Number 3, as you will hear in the next 2 sessions, we have proven tools that can help close the gap. So in reality, the actual question is, I think before us is, what do we want to do next? We are right at the center of this problematic. What do we want to do? In my own opinion, I think we have reached a last chance juncture to get it right on climate finance. Starting here in Morocco through to June, when we decide on CIF's future, to the UN Secretary General's Climate Summit in September, we need to come up with a concrete proposal for a climate finance architecture that can support the climate front lines at the speed and scale required. As the CIF founders did 10 years ago, I believe it is now our turn to be bold, think big, and deliver a truly transformational response to the challenge of our generation. I see many faces here that I recognize very clearly. Many of us have been to a greater or lesser extent, on an incredible journey with the CIF. I have myself devoted half of my professional life to galvanizing climate action through the CIF. And I don't need to come here, but coming here even makes me more proud. I couldn't be prouder to what we have achieved. We have driven major results and demonstrated successful models that have paved the way for real and lasting change for millions of people around the world. I just gave you 2 examples of 2 of those people that touched me profoundly in my visits last year. So we must take this opportunity to celebrate 10 years of hard work and achievement together and make the most of every opportunity that remains for us to lead and to act. As Sir David Attenborough said just last week, what we do in the next few years will profoundly affect the next few thousand years. The stakes are very high. The good news is that we know what needs to be done, and thanks to you and the last 10 years of hard work, we know how it can be done. So what's left for us is let us scale up, speed up, and harness this power of 10. Shukran, merci. Thank you very much, all of you, for coming. I believe you will very much enjoy these 2 days.
Thank you very much, Mafalda, also for actually outlining the agenda for the next couple of days, what we are here to do, the challenges and opportunities, of course, ahead of us. Speed is one thing, clearly. And the next session, or the next speaker here, will talk about the 1.5-degree report, putting further pressure on us. But still having a positive agenda. I normally like the fact that in Copenhagen in 2009, the policy were more, how do we share the burden of the transformation? How do we share the burden? It was costly. We came out from the financial crisis. Renewable energy was very, very expensive. And in Paris, you could say, the whole linguistic changed into how can we share the benefits. So just in 6 years, at least, we start to move that mental mindset, which I think is very important. How many in here, raise your hand, think that climate action is important? Okay, good, but this was actually an exercise, so I wanted to ask a question where I got 100% yes. So you moved a little bit, which is good, because we need to move a bit. So we're going to show you a slide, and we're going to ask you again, just to check you a little bit here on how you perceive the climate challenges in terms of word. Sorry, it will be in English. You log in, you use that polev.com/cif10. Just press skip when they ask you for a nickname. We don't want to know that. And then you have an instruction there where you're asked to add a word related to a question. You can do it many times. So you can add the word many times, different words, and so on. And let's see what happens in terms of climate. How would you describe the climate change challenge / opportunity, to a certain extent, if we listen to Mafalda, in one word? Sorry. Let's see. Either there is no internet, or you have not yet. There is no internet. Okay. You know what I'm going to do? We can skip this then, if this doesn't work. I'm going to make one other test then. Think for 5 seconds of one word that you believe is important in terms of climate change. One word, just one word. It can be urgency, it can be whatever. One word, okay? In 10 seconds, I will ask you to scream out that word, and we'll see what happens. If it's well organized, or if it became, creative chaos. One word. So 10 seconds from now, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Perfect. It's so well organized. I mean, the agenda going forward, no problem whatsoever. Anyway, in Paris, we got a decision that we need to maybe increase our action. 2 degrees or well below 2 degrees may not be enough, in particular for many countries facing their challenges. So the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, they were commissioned to prepare a new report outlining, if we want to aim for 1.5 degrees, what would it take? Can it be done at all? Is there a possibility? They did this, 6,000 scientists, I think it was, in 3 years. Ahead of Katowice, they presented a report that would push governments further. I'm really pleased to introduce our opening keynote speaker, Mr. Abdallah Moksit, the Secretary of the WHO UNEP Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change. Give him a warm applause, please. And I hope we get some technical support here, or does it work? Oh, it works. Good. Perfect.
Thank you very much, dear moderator. First of all, Madam and Mr. Minister, all President, Director General, it's a real pleasure for me to address you here in Ouarzazate, where we have the largest field of renewable. So, as the moderator said, in 1995, we did have Paris Agreement. 2015, we did have Paris Agreement, and that time UNEF CCC, the United Nations Framework for Climate Change, Convention invited IPCC to prepare a special report about 1.5 degrees C and to discuss what are the possibilities to limit climate change, global warming, under 1.5 degrees C. IPCC was tasked, and we delivered just in time before the last COP, the Convention of UNFCCC in Katowice. But I just want to share with you, because now I am really happy and to be in front of a target population. I know many, but I don't know all of them. And if I have one objective, at the end of presentation, all of you can be connected to IPCC and be involved to IPCC. But what are the outcomes from IPCC, Special Report 1.5? There are 4 key messages that I put them in the back of my visit card. And if I have one objective for all of you, is to keep this key message. There are 4. And there are just answer to question, the main question that should come from policymaker. The first one, are we living in climate change? It is a simple question. Yes, climate change is already affecting people, ecosystems, and livelihood all around the world. When IPCC was tasked to provide information 1.5, many people said it is not possible. Here again, the second key message is limiting warming to 1.5 degrees C is not impossible, but would require unprecedented transition in all aspects of society. The third question, and this is what was in the heart of the discussion in Paris in 2015, because they were discussing limitation under 2 degrees C. One small island asks for 1.5. Some countries say this is impossible, and there is no benefit. Now, the answer in this third key message, there are clear benefits to keeping warming to 1.5 degrees C compared to 2 degrees C or higher. Every bit of warming matters. Now, the fourth question, this is related to the concern of many politicians, technocrats, and whatever. Are we, by tackling climate change, keeping limitation under 1.5, are we in line with all the concern of the time this year? I mean, eradicating poverty, reaching sustainable development, and so on. The fourth key message is there, saying limiting warming to 1.5 degrees C can go hand in hand with achieving other world goals, such as achieving sustainable development and eradicating poverty. That means the outcome of report for which the summary for policymaker is bringing in the good answer. And this is why this report was in the heart of discussion and negotiation in past COP in Katowice. Now I am pleased also to give you some highlights related to IPCC work and also your work as Climate Investment Fund. There are other conclusions and key messages that say limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees implies changes on an unprecedented scale. It means deep emission reduction in all sectors, for example, energy, land, buildings, transport, food and diet, and cities. It means changes in the use of a wide range of technologies, behavioral changes, and a significant increase of investment in low carbon options. For instance, limiting global warming under 1.5 degrees C should ask renewable to provide half to two-thirds of the primary energy and electricity by 2050. And we are in the heart of renewable. Rapid progress is already being made in some areas such as renewable energy. The world needs to be picked up in other sectors such as transport and land management. This is about mitigation. But also, what is about investment? We still have more work to do in future assessment to understand the cost and benefits of climate action and the opportunity cost of inaction. But building on the funding of IPCC fifth assessment report in 2014, we showed that addressing climate change is not so much about additional cost, but about diverting investment from fossil fuel infrastructure to low carbon renewable. Once again, we are in the heart of what we are doing here in Ouarzazate in this famous field. Now, just to give credit to all what I said, because all what I said, and this is what I was really reading, those are sentences agreed by policymakers, by governments. Each comma is a word or expression sentence is agreed by governments. But just to give you confidence, I'm happy to present before you the history of IPCC. The IPCC was established in 1988 by the World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environment Program. And IPCC was producing a number of reports. The first assessment report in 1990, but maybe you don't know, it is thanks to this report that we established the United Nations Framework for Climate Change Convention. IPCC was the trigger for UNFCCC. In 1995, IPCC produced the second assessment report, but also, maybe you know, that it was critical for Kyoto Protocol. Without IPCC report, the numbers in Kyoto Protocol were not to be there. The third assessment report, as we were advancing science, we were also introducing concept. The third assessment report introduced the concept of adaptation. While the fourth assessment report started to use numbers, and we started by this limitation under 2 degrees C. And in 2007, IPCC received, with Al Gore, the Nobel Prize. The fifth assessment report was the critical input for Paris Agreement, and thanks to IPCC report that we did have this world consensus. And from Paris, as I said, that time we did have enough research about limitation under 2 degrees C, but we didn't have enough to consider the possibility to look for research under the anomaly under 1.5. And then we were invited and we delivered just before Katowice. But we are now living the sixth assessment cycle for IPCC. And it is by far the most intense cycle in the history of IPCC. And also I want to draw your attention for two aspects essential for IPCC. IPCC is not doing research. IPCC is assessing research. The quality of our assessment is at the level of the quality and how it is reached the research already undertaken. That means I am addressing to you, finance people, to undertake a lot of research to be assessed by IPCC. And this is something we are giving more attention in this cycle as well and to coming cycle. IPCC report should be neutral about policy. We are providing many options for decision maker, but we never say to anyone, this is the option you should take. And this is really, really strategic. You are celebrating, CIF is celebrating 10 years. And we can join you by saying that we are celebrating 30 years of IPCC. We had in 2019, we celebrated 30 years, 3 decades of science assessment. And I was involved in IPCC for many years from the beginning. And believe me, this is the best interface between science and policy. Because in the left-hand side, you have the Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, which is composed by 195 countries, member states, working in plenaries. We have almost 2 plenaries till 3 plenaries a year. These plenaries, those meetings are facilitated by bureaus, and the people working to support IPCC are 4 groups. The working group 1 dealing with science basis, working group 2 dealing with vulnerability and impact studies. The third working group is looking for solution mitigation, and we have the task force for greenhouse gas measurement. But all this is there thanks to the contribution on voluntary basis by hundreds and thousands of scientists who are working to improve the quality of assessment of IPCC. Those experts can play many roles as drafting team, as an expert reviewer, or as just review editor. And once again, I take the opportunity to address you, to visit our website, and anyone from you can contribute to IPCC work by just self-declaration, saying, I am expert. IPCC can send to this person all the credentials to download all the drafts, and this expert can provide comments. And if the comments are relevant, he will become, or she will become, contributor to IPCC work. My appeal to you is to be involved in IPCC and to let your voice assessed by the drafting team. And this is, I want to go now quickly just to show you how this cycle is so intense, because we have, for the first time in history, the 6th cycle have 8 reports. We have 4 special reports and also the 4 usual reports. But what I want to show is the 6th cycle is a cycle of solution. Because we did have special report about 1.5. It is for negotiator. We were also asked to prepare a special report about climate change and ocean. It will be approved next September in Monaco. We will have special report about climate change and land, and it will be approved in August, next August, hopefully in Morocco. And we did have an international conference about cities. And you can agree with me that we are looking for solution. Now we understood the science basis. It is time to propose solution and option to be undertaken. And also, we are continue to serve the negotiation. We already, thanks to 1.5 special report, informed the COP24 in Katowice, and our sensitivity report to be delivered in 2022 will be in time to inform the global stocktake under the United Nations Framework for Climate Convention. And this is how the timeline is so tight for the whole work of IPCC. And those are our reports. Our deliverables are only reports. And I want to share with you that any report from those is thousands of pages. But those thousands of pages are summarized in 30 pages for a summary for policymakers. But also we are always using some key messages because policymakers, head of state, prime minister, ministers, needs just a small key message for them to take decision. And just I will go also quickly. Even the preparation for the whole process of IPCC is undertaken by good coordination between scientists and also governments. That means it is a mutual preparation. From the choice of any subject for an IPCC report, the government are consulted and they should approve the selection. They should also nominate all the experts. The scientists can select, but also even the outline of any special report should be proposed by experts, but approved by the government. Just to give you an idea about the outline of 1.5 special report, five chapters, but for each chapter we need, of course, about 15 drafting team, and for the whole special report, we used the contribution for almost 90 experts drafting the whole process and also playing the role of review editor. And this time, the time I came, we tried also to look to a good balance in terms of gender balance, in terms of developing country, developed country, in terms also region geographically well distributed, and also, and this is new also, to invite new researchers. And this is how we can open the door to any new person to be involved in the process. Even the drafts, it is a sort of mutual aller-retour between scientists and government. To have just one statistic for the special report, we dealt with 42,000 comments coming from government and expert reviewer. Now I will hurry quickly just to link, because it is the power of 10, all the preparation of our special report or report follow this 10 step. It is power of 10, it is 10 commandments, but it is there to prepare a coordinated report. I will conclude once again by the key messages from this special report. This is in front of you. Climate change is already affecting people, ecosystems, and livelihood all around the world. Limiting warming to 1 degree C is not impossible, but would require unprecedented transition in all aspects of society. There are clear benefits to keeping warming to 1.5 degrees C compared to 2 degrees C or higher. Every bit of warming matters. But limiting warming to 1.5 degrees C can go hand in hand with achieving other world. We can sum up more, saying every bit of warming matters, every year matters, every choice matters, every dollar invested, and this is for you, every dollar invested matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I really like these three messages in the end there, what matters. That when, 6,000 scientists can come together and put together 3 short lines. That's really something. I'm impressed, you know, it's fantastic. So thank you very much.
I should also thank you because initially, in the preparation for the presentation, I was told it was about 20 minutes. 20 is 10 multiplies 2 degrees C. And he negotiates with me 15 minutes. It is 1.5.
I know. But you got 22, so, you know, in the end, it worked out. Thank you so much. So we are now going to move to the opening plenary session. And to join me on stage, I would like to ask 3 really eminent people who will provide us with their insights based on this 1.5-degree report, but also, of course, looking ahead, what kind of action do we need to take and what kind of different organizations and also countries do. So could I ask the 3 panelists to join me up here so I present you when people see you rather than presenting you when you're sitting down? So can I ask the 3 panelists to join me? Yes? Perfect. They're all over there. Good. Thank you very much for joining me here on stage. Honorable Minister Mustafa Garba, the Minister of Environment, Urban Safety and Sustainable Development in Niger. Ms. Ingrid Gabriela Hofen, Director General, Department of Global Issues at BMZ, and Mr. John Room, Senior Director, Climate Change, the World Bank. Let's give them an applause so they feel welcome. We hear the word urgency a lot, Minister, that this is climate urgency. We need to take action. There is a lot of focus on mitigation and investments for mitigation, but also adaptation is critical, not least for many developing countries. We now have the 1.5-degree report. Could you maybe provide some initial comments based on this report? How do you see the climate urgency playing out in your country, and what kind of action do you think would be essential to support your country moving forward? Please.
Merci beaucoup. Je vous remercie beaucoup, Monsieur le modérateur, Mesdames et Messieurs. Je voudrais rapidement profiter de cette opportunité pour saluer cette belle initiative donc, de la célébration du 10e anniversaire du CIF, qui permet de faire un pont sur la problématique du changement climatique. Évidemment, nous avions suivi les conclusions du rapport du groupe intergouvernemental sur les changements climatiques, qui a fait l'objet de très longs débats à Katowice lors de la 24e COP. Et la leçon que nous retenons, c'est qu'il y a urgence à agir. Il y a encore, hélas, beaucoup de leaders mondiaux qui doutent encore de la réalité au mode et système de production actuel. Et de façon particulière pour l'Afrique, puisque vous avez parlé de mon pays, je parlerai globalement de l'Afrique subsaharienne et spécifiquement du Sahel. Même si l'objectif de la limitation de la hausse de température à l'échelle 2100 était limité à 2 degrés, cela signifierait sans doute 3 degrés ou plus pour l'Afrique. Or, nous sommes déjà, particulièrement pour la région sahélienne, dans une situation d'extrême vulnérabilité liée aux effets extrêmes de notre économie au secteur rural, l'agriculture, et les conséquences donc visibles déjà des changements climatiques, c'est la dégradation du capital de production, donc les ressources naturelles. Et naturellement, à l'horizon 2100, donc les objectifs de l'accord de Paris. Et il y a lieu de dire, oui, qu'il y a urgence à agir. Et j'aimerais juste relever que rien que les engagements pris par nos États à travers l'accord de Paris et pour la région sahélienne se traduit par des besoins d'investissement de l'ordre de 400 milliards de dollars. Naturellement, un montant que nous n'avons pas pour le moment. Et pendant ce temps, le rapport du GIEC révèle qu'il nous faut être encore plus ambitieux, qu'il faut relever donc, le niveau des ambitions. Donc il y a lieu d'agir, certes au niveau de la mitigation, comme vous dites, au niveau des actions en matière d'atténuation. Nos pays font d'énormes efforts déjà, que ce soit au niveau de la lutte contre la désertification, de la gestion durable des terres et des eaux, et la promotion d'actions à co-bénéfice, la promotion des énergies renouvelables. L'exemple que nous avons vu ce matin, Nour, est un exemple très, très inspirant pour l'Afrique. Eh bien, il y a lieu de relever ces ambitions et par conséquent d'aller vers une plus grande justice climatique. Et là, c'est un appel aux autres parties de l'accord de Paris vers la promotion de plus en plus de systèmes plus innovants, plus justes pour, disons que, la gestion de cette situation pour laquelle tout le monde est responsable, mais où ces responsabilités doivent être plus que jamais différenciées. Pour l'instant, voilà le commentaire que je peux faire.
Thank you very much for that, and also for the very clear message about the particular stress, vulnerability that you have in the Sahel region, not just related to climate mitigation, but even more maybe to climate adaptation to variability and the huge investment needs that you really require in the future. Ms. Hofen, if I can maybe then turn to you. Again, climate action, the urgency is coming up, and this is, of course, a clear message from the IPCC, but also from the whole intergovernmental system and from negotiations also in Katowice. We need to push the agenda forward. BM said you are one of the important organizations also supporting other countries. How do you then address this urgency, and how do you look at the agenda moving forward?
Thank you, Johan, and thank you. I would like to start by thanking especially the Moroccan government for having us here. The proof that Germany is present at this conference is also underlying the important partnership that we conduct with Morocco in the field of environment and in the energy sector. And I also would like to thank the World Bank for organizing this meeting. And finally, I would like to say to all of us, happy birthday.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Sis. And as Mafalda showed us, we have all together with joint efforts really make big progress and reach innovative areas we have never thought we could get there a couple of years ago. So for Germany, and if I speak as a representative of the Development Cooperation Ministry, we have changed our paradigm. The IPCC reports have clearly outlined there is no chance to achieve the SDGs by 2030 or thereafter if we don't actually change the course of action. And it has to be our action in societies, economies, and financial sector has to be aligned completely with the goals and the metrics of the Paris Agreement. And we know that 2-degree warming is already entering into dangerous zones. We have seen the effects, especially in African countries. So there is a big, big urgency to come to a 1.5-degree world where we avoid tipping points that are irreversible. So for us in Germany, actually, these are like two sides of one coin. We won't get actually to the SDGs without actually implementing the Paris Agreement. On the other hand, if we don't actually implement the Paris Agreement in a way that we deal with equity issues, gender issues, indigenous people issues, we won't achieve the results in the transformation that is being needed. So this is like our framework under which we operate. It's not easy to get us there, but we're trying to be there.
Can you maybe just, I mean, I'll let you continue. Can you say, give one example, what's the main barrier for getting there? I mean, if you...
Perhaps I would like to bring one very recent example from Germany. For Germany to achieve its own domestic climate protection goals, we have to get out of coal. But still, 30% of electricity in Germany is produced on the basis of coal. In the sector itself, we have, you wouldn't say there are so many people depending on the coal industry, but these families and households are concentrated in a handful of regions. So this becomes really a big regional problem. But fortunately, and this is something that we have achieved over the last couple of months, and we started in August last year, when we decided to establish a commission on structural change, which we call the Coal Commission. And last Saturday, they achieved a compromise, which sets a goal that Germany is going to be out of coal at least, at the latest, in 2038, and hopefully even earlier. We are going to going to close plants, even lignite coal plants that are still very competitive in the next couple of years. So big action is going to be take place until 2023. And we are again going to start in a successive implementation of new actually reduction of coal electricity. In 2023, we are going to revise the goals and see whether they are still aligned with the overall climate action targets. In order to achieve this, the compromise was so important. We brought trade unions, the industry, government, NGOs like Greenpeace to a table, and they had to negotiate the compromise. And they presented it to the government last Saturday. Now the government has to provide, of course, the underpinnings in legal terms, and the government has to provide the financial support that is needed in order to really implement a transformation that is also a just transition for the workers in the coal industry. And this transition actually requires to invest into new areas, new technologies. We are going to actually locate new research institutions in those regions. We are going to invest in infrastructure, digitalization, in order to compensate for the losses in jobs in the coal mining industry. But at the end, and this was actually the reason why we could forge such a compromise, it became quite clear that Germany is at present locked into an energy, technology, coal that is not competitive in the medium or longer term. It's a waste of money to continue to invest in the sector instead of investing in new technologies that provide a better and cleaner future. So what I mean is that, of course, we have to try to bring in the two sides, the economic side, the social side, and invest into strategies that can forge consensus around the bigger transition.
Thank you for giving that example, because it's interesting to see how Germany, in many ways, reflects the situation and challenge we have in the world. So I'll let you continue.
So, of course, first, on the international arena, Germany would also like to continue to work with many, many partner countries that you can actually avoid this lock-in effect. And this extremely exciting plant here in Ouarzazate is a proof that there are alternatives, especially in those countries that have actually the natural conditions to go into more innovative and more competitive technologies. And when the CIFs were created, actually, Germany thought that this is a very good investment for development cooperation, because we found that the CIFs actually provide us with a platform to forge this into innovation that is needed, and to build up the trust and the partnership and the financial engineering around the world to actually prove that this even can happen in developing countries. Because look back in the debate, that people say, okay, this may be something perhaps for Norway or Switzerland or even Germany, but this is something really for Africa. And Ouarzazate, I think, is a big proof. Yes, it is, and it is the future, and for many more countries. And you should, I mean, this would be my actually advice, and any country should avoid to get locked into fossil fuel, actually energy production that is not competitive over the longer term. To get us there, John, I think what is important is also what you said. There is a responsibility by the developed countries to provide the financial support that is needed for developing countries to transform their economies into a climate-friendly and climate-resilient future. So Germany has made a commitment that by 2020, we are going to have doubled our public finance to climate action, multilaterally and bilaterally. Last year, we spent already 3.65 million euros, and we have to get to 4 in 2020, so we're pretty close. One of our major engagements are with the CTFs and with the Green Climate Fund, and quite recently in Katowice, Germany has made a pledge that for the ongoing replenishment, we are going to double our contribution to up to 1.5 billion euros, sorry. Billion, of course, euros for the next replenishment period. But additionally, I would like to pick up a point that the minister has made. We have to recognize that we have to do more on the adaptation side and the resilience side. Now, even those effects of climate change have reached developed countries. Germany was suffering from a severe drought. But certainly we have better means to protect ourselves against those impacts of extreme weather events. We have seen wildfires around the world with heavy also human losses. But for African countries, for instance, if you go from Ethiopia to Senegal, they are only seeing a big impact in their main crops, cocoa, coffee, and subsistence farming. And how are we going actually to deal with those impacts? Some are slower, others are more rapid and more extreme. And I think this is the one big target for Germany for the next couple of years, to work together with institutions like the World Bank, other bilateral partners like the UK, to actually to raise awareness about the need of more action on adaptation. And the Global Commission on Adaptation that has been established quite a couple of weeks ago, last October, will present to the UN Climate Summit a report that may highlight actually urgent action and describe the next work streams that we should actually embark on. And with the UK government and the World Bank, Germany has created a new facility to invest in climate risk finance, urgently needed to build up schemes that can protect country better than what is in place right now against extreme weather events, floods, droughts, or even slow onset events that harm agriculture productivity. And this new facility is one cornerstone of our action for the future. And these are, I think, partially, I'm not going to describe our whole portfolio. I simply wanted to highlight, if you look into the future, more financing is needed, more financial engineering as innovative as under the roof of the CTF is needed, and more investment in adaptation in partnership with developing countries is certainly needed. And I sincerely hope, and Ambassador Alba is with us here today, that jointly, again, the world community can really raise ambitious action at the UN Climate Summit on both sides, on CO2 mitigation, but also on adaptation.
Thank you very much. And really thank you for, I mean, both of you now have really stressed the fact that we have to increase focus on adaptation. We were stuck a little bit in what I would say a completely, illogical discussion before, that adaptation could to a certain extent almost threaten mitigation, because we need to focus on the mitigation. But of course, adaptation is key. It's no doubt. Moving to you, John, I know that the World Bank, and I know also your approach, is really to take this wider perspective on climate action. Can you tell us a little bit more about this and your reaction also to that, to the 1.5 degree report and climate urgency?
Excellent. Thank you very much. So good morning, everyone. Great pleasure to be here it's just fantastic driving in and actually seeing this plant operational. Well done to everybody. Great organizing this. Before I start, one thing that I think would be an interesting observation. I've been looking at notes. Obviously, we all prepare for these discussions, and we all write some notes. Now, this is Ms. Bakuri, the ministers, Ingrid. Frankly, we could have shuffled our notes, and we could have all spoken off each other's notes. There is consensus on a number of issues. And I could go, again, I could explain to you why I have this button that's got the SDGs with 1.5 sitting inside it. Okay, Ingrid said it. We can't achieve our development objectives unless we address climate change. We know we're going to have 100 million more people living in poverty by 2030 if we don't address it. We're going to have 134 million more migrants by we know this stuff. The one spin I would put that hasn't been emphasized, I think, enough is that there is also an upside. It's not just avoiding the downside of climate risks. New Climate Economy has shown that by 2030, there's $26 trillion of benefits that can come from low carbon and 67 million incremental jobs by following that low carbon trajectory. So it's not just avoiding the risk, it's driving it forward. The second thing I think that we can pretty much agree on, when you look at the 1.5 degree report, business as usual will not cut it. Okay, this is not a question of simply finding a little bit more money to do what we've done in the past. And we can talk about, on the mitigation side, we've got to develop the new technologies. Here in Masson, CSP was driven further forward, but we've driven wind in Mexico. We've got to drive batteries. We've got to drive cooling. We've got to drive electric vehicles. And this will not take the old-fashioned methodology of finding a little bit more public money and arguing over whether we've got $50 billion or $55 billion or $100 billion. We need trillions of dollars to move. What does that mean? It's not just the finance. It means that we have to crowd in private sector money. We have to de-risk. We have to focus on this. And then on the other side, as Ingrid said, on adaptation, yes, we need to increase the focus on adaptation. But it's not simply saying we were going to develop in any case. We need to put a little bit more incremental money into avoiding the impacts of climate. No, we've got to go back to the drawing board and think differently about what development means. What kinds of agriculture do we need to invest in? Where do we need to put our roads? How do we need to develop our cities? All of these things, I think, need to come together. Third point I was making, if we are in agreement on these issues, and we're in agreement on the need for ambition, we now need to focus on action. Okay? It sounds corny, but that is what it is. Okay? And that comes from two pieces. One, I think we need some revitalized political commitment. And you mentioned Ambassador Alba. Yes, the UNSG summit in September should aim to do that. But frankly, political commitment is not enough by itself. We actually have to start delivering in the next 3 to 5 years to prove on the ground that we can drive battery storage, that we can drive floating solar, that we can do agriculture differently to get climate-smart agriculture. Because if we don't, countries are not going to have the confidence to come up with higher ambition NDCs. And so I think that really the focus should be on action. We can come back later to talk about what the MDBs are doing and what the CIF has done. But I think this is where we need to focus, on the real nitty-gritty of getting it done and spend less time just talking about the general things that we all actually agree on.
It's interesting that you bring up this issue of action, and John. If I still can go back to you a little bit before we also talk about what the system is doing about this. You talked about political commitment. It's not enough. We need to prove, we need to show that it works. What are the barriers there? I mean, we quite often hear we have money, we have the technologies. Where are the barriers to really get action scaled up, you would argue? I know it's a difficult question, but if key points.
So I think there are a few pieces to this. One is in investing in newer technologies, we need to more effectively bring together the policymakers and different sources of finance to bring them together. The private sector cannot do everything by themselves. You often hear private sector says, if there's a deal, I would like to invest. The public sector says, well, maybe I need to think about the policy. We as MDBs, we can provide certain amounts of money. CTF can provide certain kinds of money. The idea would be to how can we identify 3 or 4 key transformative things and bring that financing and policy making together. That's one piece. Second thing is, at the country level, we need to go beyond the rhetoric to the reality of mainstreaming climate considerations into everything that governments do in terms of allocating money. We're still in the case with too many cases, climate is still seen as something that sits in the Ministry of Environment. We produce a plan that sits there. This has to become one of these central pieces for ministries of finance, ministries of planning, and heads of state to drive this in. If you have a look at the countries that are moving well and are moving quickly, this is what's happening. I think in many cases, it's not like action doesn't exist. There's lots of good practice. If we simply took the good practice that was there and replicated that more broadly, we'd be able to make a lot of progress.
Thank you. It's a very clear message there. Maybe I can turn to Minister Garba to comment a little bit on this in terms of bringing really action to the ground. Your portfolio is interesting. You are from the Ministry of Environment. As we heard, we need to engage also other ministries, of course, in this action. But you also have urban safety and sustainable development, so a broader agenda. How does it play out in Niger when it comes to climate action? Is it the whole government pushing for this, or do you still have a lot of different barriers that you have to overcome also internally to get more action and more investments?
Permettez-moi d'abord de revenir un peu sur la question des ambitions de l'Afrique. À travers l'accord de Paris, je pense qu'il y a eu pas mal d'évolutions pour entendre les cris de cœur de l'Afrique pour qu'il y ait un équilibre entre l'adaptation et l'atténuation. Je pense que beaucoup de gens sont conscients aujourd'hui, puisque pour les populations africaines, dans la majorité vulnérable, la problématique des changements climatiques se traduit aujourd'hui beaucoup plus en une question de survie, donc d'adaptation. Et en ce sens, il faut reconnaître que les Africains ont fait pas mal d'efforts. Dans mon pays, le Niger, nous avions très tôt compris la nécessité donc, de promouvoir des actions de résilience des populations. Ces actions ont pris une ampleur un peu plus significative depuis, disons, les 10 dernières années. C'est ainsi que, à partir de 2011, le pays, grâce à l'impulsion du président de la République actuellement, a engagé une vision dite initiative 3N, les Nigériens nourrissent les Nigériens. Comme je vous l'ai dit, nous sommes un pays essentiellement rural. L'agriculture, le secteur primaire de façon générale, occupe plus de 80% de la population et contribue à plus de 40% du produit intérieur brut. Dans un contexte de variabilité climatique très forte. Et à titre illustratif, une année de production agricole perdue nous coûte 2 points de PIB. Et cette extrême vulnérabilité a conduit donc les autorités à promouvoir cette politique dont l'objectif est de rendre les populations de plus en plus résilientes et de faire en sorte que les sécheresses de plus en plus fréquentes ne riment pas avec famine. Donc, renforcer la sécurité alimentaire et nutritionnelle des populations. Et en cela, il faut le dire ici, le CIF y contribue à travers le programme stratégique de résilience climatique qui finance un projet chez nous, le programme d'action communautaire pour la résilience climatique. Alors, la conséquence de cette prise de conscience, c'est que de plus en plus, la question climatique est traduite dans toutes nos politiques sectorielles et dans nos programmes de développement économique et social. Le programme de développement économique et social du Niger, qui est le cadre programmatique de référence, comporte un axe spécifique consacré aux questions de développement durable, avec 2 déclinaisons, l'une sur la gestion durable des terres, des eaux et de la diversité biologique, et l'amélioration du cadre de vie, et la résilience donc, des populations. Donc au niveau national, il y a cette prise de conscience qui est là et qui se développe. Mais il faut admettre que les chocs et les externalités, il y en a beaucoup qui pèsent beaucoup sur les capacités de réaction des autorités. Ainsi, s'il faut reconnaître que nous avons capitalisé beaucoup de pratiques à l'endroit des populations en termes de renforcement de leur capacité de résilience, nous faisons encore face à des chocs qui limitent l'action du gouvernement. C'est des chocs, en l'occurrence, sécuritaires, et pour lesquels, évidemment, le fardeau reste encore très lourd. Maintenant, il y a, à travers les défis relevés par le rapport du GIEC, une nécessaire solidarité qui doit s'instaurer entre les États. Quand je parle dans les États, c'est tous les États partis à l'accord de Paris, mais particulièrement entre les États africains. Et à cet égard, il me plaît de rappeler que c'est tout près, à côté ici à Marrakech, en 2016, à l'occasion, 2017, 16, c'est ça, à l'occasion de la 22e conférence des parties, la Convention des Nations Unies sur les changements climatiques, qu'a eu lieu le sommet africain de l'action, au cours duquel tous les chefs d'État africains avaient convenu d'agir désormais de façon coordonnée, de parler d'une seule voix pour l'action. Le sommet était appelé d'ailleurs Sommet africain de l'action. Et à cette occasion, plusieurs commissions régionales dédiées avaient été mises en place, dont la commission climat pour la région du Sahel, qui est présidée par le Niger. Et depuis lors, sous le leadership donc, du président de la commission, qui est le président de la République du Niger, son Excellence Issoufou Mahamadou, un plan d'investissement climat dédié à toute la région climatique du Sahel, comportant 18 pays, a été lancé. Et il est apparu, comme je le disais tantôt, d'abord que nous avons été déjà très ambitieux à travers les CDN, nos contributions déterminées au niveau national, dont la traduction en termes d'investissement nécessaire demande plus de 400 milliards à l'horizon 2030. Pendant ce temps, la nécessité de rehausser l'ambition est apparue. Alors oui, les pays africains sont conscients d'être solidaires, d'agir pour lutter contre les émissions de gaz à effet de serre à l'origine du réchauffement climatique, mais également, plus que jamais, demandent plus de justice climatique afin d'engager davantage d'actions de résilience des populations. Et le rapport l'a démontré, ce n'est pas incompatible avec les ODD, ce n'est pas incompatible avec les objectifs des Nations Unies pour le développement. Et donc notre appel, c'est que nous allions vers cette plus grande justice, et face à cette volonté forte de l'Afrique, eh bien, nous entendons de l'autre côté, nous attendons qu'il y ait une volonté aussi importante, aussi grande, afin que chacun soit à même d'honorer ses engagements vis-à-vis de l'accord de Paris et de l'agenda climatique. Merci.
Thank you very much, Minister. I mean, this is a very clear message. What is interesting to a certain extent is the fact that climate change challenges now also bring countries together in collaborative efforts. You have also outlined the need for investments and also, of course, climate justice, equity, and so on. If I turn to you, Ingrid Gabriella, looking at the future a little bit, if we take that next step now in the final part here, what do you think if you look 5-10 years ahead and collaborate, of course, working together? Some reflections on that.
Yeah, perhaps four. I was considering like four main challenges that I foresee. The first one is actually, as this challenge is so big and the changes that we have to implement are so also very comprehensive, very new for many, many countries. The question is, how do we get there? How do we know actually how a country look like a climate-friendly, climate-resilient country in 2050? It doesn't suffice anymore to simply look ahead a 5-year period and say, what kind of investment do I need to get all children into school? If we invest into urbanization, we can have huge lock-in effects unless we know better what does it mean to make a specific city more resilient or actually more climate friendly. CO2 mitigation within cities is going to be a huge challenge. So the first challenge for all institutions, but development cooperation as well, that we have to get informed by longer term studies that give us a better assessment of what is needed to avoid lock-in effects by investments that we undertake today. So this long-term trajectory is key. And we haven't factored this in the past in normal traditional development cooperation or climate action. So the long-term perspective, first challenge. So we need more work on knowledge, assessment, and research to provide this knowledge to countries that take decisions and to policymakers on investments. The second challenge is whole of government approaches. As the Minister and John have said, I mean, this has to be more than simply a combination of smaller action. And we know that there is a proliferation of institutions, actions, initiatives. So how do we make sure that actually on the ground in countries, we really can provide support that can be transformative at the end? So whole of government approaches are key. And in this respect, I would like to underline that the leadership has to come from the countryside, from the developing country or the developed country. At COP22, under the leadership of Morocco, we all together, many of the partners are sitting in this room, created the so-called NDC partnership, which provides a platform actually to bring together all kinds of sectors within the government, donors from the multilateral and bilateral sphere, and they sit together, bring in the private sector, and figure out what are the next steps to take. What kind of investment should take place because they are the most transformative ones in terms of economic benefits and climate action. And I think these types of platforms should be strengthened, bring together different actors, make sure that we act under very complex environments in a very comprehensive but also very coherent way. The third challenge is inclusiveness. If we really have learned that we can't transform economies and societies unless there is no one left behind, how do we get there? Do we have specific formats to debate transformation, to give room to voices at the local level, at the city level, at the national level? I mean, what we have learned, over a while is that really this has to be a big investment. Unless we invest in inclusiveness and participatory formats, it will be even more difficult to come to the level of transformation and climate action ambition that is needed. And I think this is possibly not even relevant for developed countries, but also for developing countries. So we in the development cooperation community should in our action not only focus on finance or technological innovation, but also on the question, can we create this type of inclusiveness in our action that provides a certainty to societies that this transformation is doable and to the benefit? Because something is about that we know what science tells us, and we know about the reports of the new climate economy, secure the livelihoods under very, very difficult circumstances. And I think we have to invest more and be a little bit more innovative in this respect as well. I think this is a lessons learned easy point that John raised on technological innovation. Of course, we have seen across the world a reduction in energy production cost of renewables. We have seen more confidence about wind power and CSPs and so forth. But are we really already there where we should be? And I would certainly see an urgency, really, to invest even more in new technological innovations. Unless we resolve the battery storage problems, there will be no chance, actually, to reach all the millions of people in Africa that have no access to modern and clean electricity off-grid, a smaller scale system, and that would provide jobs and actually and survive better livelihoods over longer term, unless we deal with the battery storage issues. For instance, how do we deal with power to X? Is this simply something that industrialized countries should now explore and pilot? I don't think so. I see many, many opportunities in many emerging economies, but additionally also in many developing countries. Should we wait to invest in the exploration of these new technologies until we are ready in industrial countries and the demand is there? No, I think we have to start to invest right now in order to be ready within 10 years' time, because already many industry sectors are telling us we need this unless we get this done.
Kinds of break. Likewise on adaptation. In Mozambique, yeah, we're working to help reconstruction of roads after the floods in Gaza. But what's more important than that, we're working on establishing road standards that will be resilient in the future and building this into the national planning system. That's the kind of impact we need. In Zambia, we're working to help farmers on the Zambezi switch from maize and sorghum, where you'll never be able to make a living and survive in a climate-changed world. Shift to higher order.
Can you feel that this is actually uncomfortable? So a very small shift can be uncomfortable for people, and we talk about transformational change all the time. Yes, we have to be aware of that. Okay, please sit down again. We are now going to have an opportunity to watch a very nice movie, the CIF 10th anniversary documentary. There is no secret that this is an anniversary event that we have right now. We are pushing the boundaries of climate finance, resilience and clean technology, sustainable forestry. This is what CIF is all doing. It's about energy access, but it's also about transformational change. The CIF team, they took a journey. They travel around different countries, different communities where they have actions, activities, and programs. And they try to capture how their work has actually changed things. What John is saying, we need to demonstrate that action actually provides change also, and also positive change, using the tried and tested methodology of CIF for climate finance. You have not seen anything like this before. This movie, you have not seen anything like this before. I haven't seen it before, because nobody has seen it before. It's the first time. It's a first-time screening, so please, can we have the movie? Moving on. Thank you.
As the generation who destroyed our home.
Hi. The next session for the transformational change. Since we're so far behind, you may want to, as you introduce the panelists after Mafalda, try to give them a clue that we're running late and very shorter than planned interventions would be.
Yeah, I try to talk to these.
Alone, and change will not happen overnight. We need to work together to develop innovative solutions that fast-track the shift away from our old habits and 100 years of industrial thinking to find a new way forward without leaving anyone behind. Responding to climate change has the potential to bring in trillions of dollars in investment, and has already shown that it can ramp up innovation, clean industries, and green jobs. It may be one of the biggest economic opportunities the world has ever seen, and one that can change the lives of millions of people everywhere. To realize this potential, we need to be working at local, national, regional, and global levels to develop policies and agree on actions that will benefit all. In 2016, 196 countries from around the world worked together to sign the landmark Paris Agreement to combat climate change and accelerate and intensify the actions and investments needed for a sustainable, lower carbon future, and regularly report on its efforts to combat climate change. Climate scientists agree that we have 11 years to transition our economies towards a climate-smart pathway or risk facing catastrophe. But getting on track will cost many trillions of dollars, and delaying these investments will only increase the bill. On our global march towards a new low-carbon era, we need the right kinds of investment models and structures to help countries reach their climate goals and achieve global impact. Lending or granting affordable funding to low and middle income countries, known as concessional finance, is key to accelerating climate investments and unlocking the transformative potential of climate action across the globe. Concessional finance reduces barriers so that investors feel confident in supporting low-carbon technologies and markets that they may otherwise have considered too risky, too costly, or premature. The right financing brings bigger, bolder, and better action that can respond to the world's most pressing crisis. But how can we best use climate finance for maximum results? Having sufficient resources is important, but funding projects is not enough. We need a different approach. To reach our goals, we need to work towards bringing sectors together into one clear vision for climate-smart interventions. We need to find new ways of doing business and ensure we maximize our limited public resources to change behaviors, create new markets, and bring about a systemic change across sectors. When we use concessional climate finance in this way, we can accelerate our progress towards a more sustainable future. Over the past 10 years, such a programmatic approach has triggered long-term transformational change across multiple sectors and countries. It centers on the idea that real change is bigger than just one project or one sector. Advancing climate action means investing to change systems, markets, and policies in alignment with national climate strategies and in close coordination with governments, multilateral development banks, the private sector, civil society, and indigenous people and local communities. It means ensuring a predictable, flexible, and large amount of resources to empower champions to drive difficult reform agendas. With countries in the driver's seat, this approach delivers far greater collective impact.
What we're seeing is that the programs are helping all the actors get together. So you have the companies, the providers of the technologies, the banks, and the Colombian government. We have served as a vehicle for various ministries and other entities to get involved in this interaction between the companies and the providers of the technology. The programs have served in a way to organize the dialogue about these technologies and how they can be used in the country. It has a lot of potential. What we've done before is just a fraction of what we can do moving forward.
In Zambia, this approach has had a nationwide impact. Climate action is now a priority across all rungs of government and a key consideration in everything from policy planning to provincial development initiatives. Agriculture, tourism, transport, energy, and other sectors have become climate smarter as a result. Zambia's Climate Change Authority has emerged as a powerful agent of change, helping expand the national budget for climate-resilient activities, such as integrated fish farming, to ensure livelihoods for generations to come. And in Ghana, where the deforestation rate is among the highest in the world, and environmental degradation costs the country almost 10% of its GDP each year, the government has been spurred to modernize its approach to its agricultural sector. This has led to more robust institutional capacity and policy reforms to support cocoa and agricultural practices, while also empowering local communities to implement forestry policies in line with their own interests. As climate-smart policies open doors to sustainable initiatives, multilateral development banks, or MDBs, have a pivotal role to play, filling critical financing and knowledge gaps for climate action in developing countries while attracting billions of dollars in private sector investment. In the fields of renewable energy and energy efficiency, the model has worked to break through investment barriers, resulting in a number of first-of-a-kind projects all around the world. The state-of-the-art Cerro Pabellón geothermal plant in Chile is a bold step towards the country's goal of doubling clean energy capacity by 2020 and reducing dependence on imported fossil fuels. Developing it required more than ambition. It required the right financing and the right approach.
Una delle principali barriere della geotermia è l'attività di perforazione, che richiede spese di capitali dell'ordine del 30% del totale di un budget di un progetto geotermico.
Concessional financing lowered costs and lowered risk, allowing the private sector to inject additional funding to build the first geothermal power plant in South America. Including Cerro Pabellón, the programmatic approach has enabled around 3 gigawatts in geothermal power worldwide. In Morocco, the programmatic approach has cleared a path toward developing the Ouarzazate concentrated solar power plant, the largest facility of its kind in the world, and a shining example of the power of climate finance. Noor provides clean energy to 2 million Moroccans and accounts for a quarter of Morocco's solar energy target of 2 gigawatts by 2020. In Morocco and around the world, it has sparked new market and policy conditions that are making CSP a more viable and affordable technology.
The market of CSP is growing. We can see it in North of Africa, in South of Africa, in the Middle East, in America, in South of Europe. A lot of projects are going, are under development. The industry is growing. Looking at the example of Morocco, that is showing the world that CSP is possible, CSP is affordable. It's showing to the world that we can do it. So it makes me proud. It's given me a story also to tell it to my family.
In India, the approach is breaking ground for large-scale solar photovoltaic projects that are bringing the country closer to its ambitious target of producing 100 gigawatts of solar energy by 2022. That's enough energy to electrify millions of households. New investments are enabling initiatives such as India's largest solar park and an expansion of the country's rooftop solar industry. It's estimated that rooftop solar alone can save almost 2 billion tons of CO2 emissions and lead to nearly 50,000 jobs. Companies are now investing with greater confidence in India's rooftop solar market.
It has become much more easier for banks to come forward and start lending. So when they look at rooftop solar projects, they're no longer worried about what is this all about. People have understood that this is what it is and we need to support it. People have started realizing the benefits of the rooftop solar. We are seeing a lot of interest from the market players, from the industry, as well as the consumer side, who are looking to adopt rooftop solar as a source of energy for their establishments, for their operations.
In mega cities around the world, where pollution poses a major threat to residents, the demand for climate-smart services is enormous, given the opportunity for transformation they bring to the clean transport and energy sector. Because of climate finance, Bogota, Colombia, is now home to the first fleet of hybrid buses in the region, transporting 150,000 passengers a day. And things are just getting started. In 2015, Bogota and 17 other Latin American cities committed to transitioning to low or zero-emission buses. These cities recognized that clean buses can bring economic, environmental, and health benefits while reducing emissions that contribute to climate change.
The hybrid buses are an excellent initiative. You can feel when the bus changes from gas to electricity. The bus just turns really silent. And that's the moment that I realized that the shift has been made.
Investing in climate resilience is just as important as investing in new markets. We need to support developing countries in adapting to the impacts of climate change, whether it's integrating climate resilience into country development plans, investing in climate-smart infrastructure, or piloting new data or service solutions for governments, private sector, and communities to make more informed decisions. This approach is improving weather and water monitoring, along with data collection in Jamaica, enabling decision makers and communities to be better prepared in times of crisis.
Beforehand, we would have to go there with radiated gauges and plant them in, and when the water rises to that level, we'll have to move again to keep our records. Information was not that accurate. Now with equipment like these, in these areas, we can now have accurate information to come up with better decisions.
In Mozambique, a programmatic approach is helping the government stimulate growth and contributing to poverty reduction through improved road infrastructure, better sector policies, and enhanced road sector management. A first-of-its-kind set of road standards, tailor-made for Mozambique, was financed to bolster climate resilience and long-term growth nationwide.
Foi resiliente porque fora de pôr terra normal foi colocado cimento e permite que pode ser carregado com água, desde que não haja muita pressão e a estrada manter firme. Esta é a parte mais alta. Além do que no outro caudal principal, do canal principal, onde está o canal, está elevado e que mesmo a última cheia de 2.000, que é alta, se puder passar, o canal continuará firme sem ser descido. Este é outro mérito que foi acaudelado no desenho do canal principal que escoa do atual sistema, do qual beneficiou dos 1.050 hectares.
While the model provides incredible opportunities for partnerships, the development of new markets and large-scale innovative projects, perhaps the most critical component, is its focus on people. As governments and leaders around the world develop strategies and make decisions around how to reach their climate goals, there is a life-changing multiplier effect happening on the ground as investments trigger changes in the socio-economic fabric of our societies. The lives of individuals are being transformed. Like Janet's, in a remote corner of Chile, her community has reliable access to energy for the first time, allowing her to enroll in an online degree course, start her own business, and access medical treatment.
Y cuando los niños se enfermaban a medianoche no había mucho que hacer con vela, y si era muy grave teníamos que salir así en oscura a la posta, ¿me entiendes? Porque tampoco antes había señal de teléfono ni nada, así que así teníamos que vivir. Hoy día, gracias a Dios, hay luz las 24 horas, así que un niño se enferma, podemos llamar al paramédico o ir o atenderlo nosotros con la forma que tenemos de sanarlo.
Preventing deforestation has provided livelihoods, training and capacity building opportunities for cocoa farmers in Ghana, where Kenneth has been empowered to support his family, choosing to build on his late grandmother's legacy as a cocoa farmer instead of looking for opportunities elsewhere.
The dream is to be successful. The plan was to get to Spain. So I was willing to go all in with all that I have, even though I was aware that there are dangers. I have no intention of leaving Ghana again, from what I've seen, because the foundation is there. All I have to do is to learn and follow. I know wherever that my grandmom is, she would be very proud of me, and I know she will support me in spirit.
The growing biogas industry in Nepal has provided Nimish with a career and opened up new opportunities for many others in a country where jobs are scarce.
So, in InViPower, I found my platform, the professional which I can maintain, and it's going to be a good example for the young generation also. This kind of project gives job to the locals around the corner of the Nepal and the people who are educated. This kind of projects give opportunity and give a dimension to our Nepal.
Philomena in Mozambique has learned farming techniques that are more resistant to floods.
Manje hey ilahlekeliwile indamba dojimile ilahlekeliwe swinene lo mukatiko leli la Mozambique efambeliwe hi tihomu iveni ku tsaka swinene swo kumbe va nga hi kota hi ku lasa hi sungulisa a ku tlhela hi suka hi nyima ni swo swi ha kombela le ka n'wina.
One of the key elements of the model has been to recognize the critical role of women in the fight against climate change. Around the world, women are disproportionately impacted by climate change. But if fully empowered, they have the potential to become powerful climate advocates as policymakers and community leaders. At rural and community levels, they play an important role in changing perceptions and advocating for change at a grassroots level.
Wona kulipula ine liande kuzofateni lizazi nilona kileli tunaulu neba batu balima abafumaniza kucha neba batu baeza chwani bapanga ze mukafela ze pangala ze lukanira kulizirupilise azibona ali kuliza konda chwereka nakuketuleka naluketile kulya kanti kibunde fya ruhezeza litapi.
From starting, I want to come in renewable energy sector because it's new. My dream was renewable energy. I'm only girl here in whole 132 megawatt plant. If you want to gain the knowledge, you have to come.
Esto es algo nuevo, la primera planta geotérmica en todo Chile. Es que esto es como un nuevo boom, entonces es como el nuevo cobre, que como les decimos en Chile, el nuevo cobre. Bueno, más que nada me siento orgullosa de ser una de las mujeres de las que están quedando aquí en este proyecto tan grande y tan nuevo.
From the rooftops of India to the Atacama Desert in Chile, from the cocoa plantations of Ghana to the restaurants of Nepal and beyond, Change is taking root and transforming the way in which individuals, communities, and nations are thinking about the future.
I think that for us to repair the amount of damage we have caused our climate so that we can leave it for posterity, it's time for all of us to get involved. So don't think that climate change conversation is for the government. Don't think that it's for the teacher. Don't think it's for the media person. You at home, what are you doing about it?
We have everything we need to achieve our climate action goals and pave the way for generations to come. For lasting transformational change, we need to keep investing in the model pioneered by the climate investment funds. Together, we can make way for a safer, more prosperous future for all. Together, we can change the world.
So great. Well, anyone can make a movie, isn't that, you know? Well, not anyone can make a good movie. I agree with that. So transformational change is possible, but you also need the evidence that it's really happening. And what is really nice is that SIF has decided to put together 2 reports on transformational change that they launched here today. So it's not just a film launching, it's also a report launching. We are at least part of the UN system, aren't we? So, reports. These reports will be available outside. You can actually pick them up about transformational change. They're also available on the web. But to tell us a little bit more about them, I would like to invite Ms. Mafalda Duarte, again, head of SIF, to come up and give us sort of a kickstart of the reports, what they contain, and also help us maybe to frame a little bit the panel discussion that we will have directly after. So please, a warm applause for Mafalda once she enters the stage. Okay. Oh, Macintosh. How do you open a Macintosh, Nicoletta? It's a secret. Good.
Okay, let's now talk about transformational change. We are very proud to have been able, over the past almost 2 years, to go through this process of bringing together quite a number of people, bringing a couple of institutions with track record on evaluation work, to look at the SIF portfolio projects and try to assess what has been the transformational impact and why. So as Johan was saying, we have commissioned 2 independent evaluation studies that have looked at this SIF's role in supporting transformational change, and I will be providing some highlights of those. These are very comprehensive reports, as you might expect. I'm going to keep it to the key messages. There will be sessions dedicated to enter into more details in the main areas that we work on, which is energy transition, energy access, climate resilience, and sustainable forest management. But first, I would like to thank the authors of these reports. I see some of them over there. They will be also speaking in more detail about their work, their findings in the breakout sessions. And I also would like to thank the many of you who were engaged in this process over the past, as I said, almost 2 years. Let's frame it again. I started off and framed it in the beginning, which is also linked to this 4th dimension, which is sustainability. are we doing something that will have a long-lasting nature? One example in the way to look at this is, are we applying concessional finance with a view to allow these investments to move forward and scale up without concessional finance? The report also found that there are 5 key elements that have helped CIF drive this transformational change. Many of you will recognize this. We have been talking about this here and there. We have been mentioning these things. The question here was, again, how do we structure this into a narrative that might be more easily understood? 5 core elements. This is very important because this is what explains the uniqueness of the CIF business model, and this is what explains the transformational results that we have seen. I will speak about some of them. John alluded to some in the morning as well, and you'll have a chance to look at them in more detail in the reports. First, a country-led programmatic approach. A country-led programmatic approach. It is about empowering the government to convene all the relevant stakeholders from the government themselves, but from private sector, from civil society, the multilateral development banks, into a dialogue about what are the challenges, what are the opportunities that the country is faced with, and how can we maximize these resources to catalyze a different type of change and reach a new level of results and different types of results. 2, explicit consideration of transformational change at the design phase, and bringing together these comprehensive and strategic investment plans that help move barriers and achieve transformation. So it is thinking about, from the outset, when we are designing what we call in our context investment plans or strategic programs for climate resilience, how can we attain transformation, or how can we start catalyzing transformation? How do we start a new path? How do we put the country in a new path? 3, large and very large investments that have utilized a range of concessional financing tools, grants, loans, others as well. And this has provided not just the incentives to the governments and to the private sector and to the multilateral development banks, but actually scale is necessary to de-risk and bring capital costs down, as is the example here in Morocco. 4, the delivery of finance through multiple coordinated interventions from the multilateral development banks, working together many times for the first time. Certainly for the first time as a comprehensive investment plan helping the country achieve some specific goals. We cannot forget the CIF business model is a common funding platform for the MDBs, and the objective is bringing them together into a dialogue with the governments, private sector, civil society, into a coherent set of, an agreement into a coherent set of interventions and alignment of the expertise and the resources to make it happen. 5th element, flexible, predictable funding. So this, I'm making a pause here because, you know, these things are quite important. Predictability in this context made a lot of parties comfortable to take risks, to innovate, that they would probably not otherwise have felt comfortable with. They had the time, they knew that the resources would come, that they would come with a specific scale, that they would come with a level of flexibility so that if there was a need to course adjust, that's what would be done. So I would like you to keep these 5 elements, which, as I said, we had been talking about for several years. We have brought together now into this more structured narrative. So let's now look at the findings. Let me now walk you through some of the key findings and some examples that make it easier to understand what we are talking about. What the independent evaluations have found is that in all of our programs, as I said, we have 4 programs that are targeted towards these areas: energy transition, energy access, climate resilience, and sustainable forests. The independent evaluations have found that in all of these areas, there are signals of transformation. We have advanced signals of transformation in terms of relevance, which means that in everything we have done, the focus has been strategically on transformation. And in the other areas of systemic change, scale, and sustainability, we observe either early signals or interim signals. In terms of systemic change, we also see very advanced signals of transformation in our energy transition and climate resilience work. Now, let me say that this doesn't mean that some of our programs in some countries, in some of these areas, don't achieve all of these dimensions. They do. But here is an analysis of the entire portfolio. So let's talk about clean energy transition. For those of you who are familiar with the CIF acronyms of programs, here we are talking about CTF. This is the Clean Technology Fund. So what have the studies found? That the CIF approach has contributed to transformational change across all 4 dimensions. So actually in CTF, what we observe is advanced signals of transformation in all of the 4 dimensions: relevance, systemic change, scale, and sustainability. And how? Key to this: strategic timing to take advantage of windows of opportunity to demonstrate the viability of the bold clean energy technologies. Mr. Bakouri mentioned it this morning as well. 2, scale of financing. Our average investment is of $50 million, which as of 2017 was 7 times higher than the average project of other multilateral climate funds. And scale is important. I've explained why it is important before. 3, promoting innovative and first-of-a-kind projects in several countries that then became global and regional leaders: Morocco, Mexico, Turkey, Thailand, several examples in the portfolio. Another key area: working closely with private sector to drive down risk perception, lower costs, and attract those levels of investment from private sector that we want to see. Let me use Morocco as an example. There are better people in the room to talk about this, Mr. Bakouri for sure, and many others, but I'll try to do justice to the amazing results that we have achieved here. So CTF, the CIF, as Mr. Bakouri also said in the morning, prior to 2010, Morocco had no significant investments in concentrated solar power, or CSP. We, alongside others, invested, CTF itself invested around 500 million in this complex that you have seen. And what did this do? It helped reduce project costs along with the other financiers that came along. So in the first phase of this complex, the costs were reduced by 25% compared to the finance that would have been available from commercial banks. And in phases 2 and 3, that reduction was of 10%. This is important because this is helping make the power tariffs more affordable than they would be otherwise. This has enabled the government to bring a large number of investors on board. Mr. Bakuri also mentioned them this morning. Of course, the multilateral development banks, KfW, AFD, EIB, and others. This helped change perceptions of risk towards investing in this technology. Paddy from Aqua Power, are you here? There he is. This is also support learning by Aqua Power. They have been conveying to us and many others that through this work here in this Noor solar complex, they learned in the areas of procurement, supply chain management, engineering design, and plant optimization. And this has helped them in 2017 to be contracted to provide 700 megawatt CSP plant in Dubai, which set a global benchmark for CSP costs. So the results are then not just here, and this is why we are talking about transformation. We see transformation here in Morocco, but we see it in the whole CSP market globally. And Morocco is now a global leader in renewable energy development and successfully attracting foreign investment in the sector. I'm not going to talk about the wind program that we are also supporting here in Morocco, where we are seeing equivalent results. John mentioned, oh, now this jumped. Okay. John mentioned Mexico. So I'm going to mention it again very briefly. It's another very successful program that we have in CTF, Mexico wind markets. In 2009 and 10, IFC, IDB, alongside us, invested in 2 private wind energy projects, which were considered critical to advance this fledgling market right when it needed it most. Remember, 2008, CIF established. 2009, we were alongside IDB and IFC providing resources in Mexico to wind power projects. That was the time when investors were reluctant to invest in renewable energy and when capital flows to emerging markets were actually reducing. So this led to a third investment in 2011 to establish a renewable energy financing facility by IDB, which in turn supported 6 wind energy projects from 2012 to 2016. This also enabled testing of energy policy reforms through these investments, and that has enabled further rapid scaling of wind energy projects. And the sector now took off on its own. New wind projects received $11.8 billion worth of investments from 2011 to 2017, mostly from private investment. And today, there are 4.3 gigawatts of new wind capacity commissioned without concessional finance. So here's an example of a program where actually we achieved all of the dimensions of transformation. Let me turn to energy access. What the studies have found is that we have contributed to transformation in this area, and let us bear in mind that our portfolio here is much less advanced than our energy transition portfolio, so we hope to continue to learn and share that learning going forward. But the transformation we have seen and observed is mostly because of 2 things. One, delivery of first-time demonstration projects, and I will be giving an example from Kenya next, and the strengthening of the enabling environment. Policy reform, strengthening institutions, advancing new knowledge. I was working in this portfolio at the African Development Bank several years ago, and I remember going to countries like Mali, or going to Ethiopia, or going to Tanzania, and actually seeing that there was not much happening in terms of renewable energy. There was a lot to be done in terms of helping the governments think through about the policy reforms and the institutions, and building that capability and that foundational regulatory frameworks, those regulatory frameworks. So let me give you the example of Kenya. Is Kenya here? I saw Erastus this morning, but very good. Everything I'm going to say, I know that I have the real actors in the room. So Kenya, of course, energy access or improved access to affordable energy is a top priority of the government. According to the latest numbers that I have seen, there are still around 45% of Kenyans that do not have access to basic energy services. At the same time, Kenya has an estimated geothermal potential of nearly 7,000 megawatts. And when we were working with the government in Kenya, back in 2014, the installed geothermal capacity was of 240 megawatts only. So what we did was to support Kenya's new geothermal development corporation in its major project by tackling what you have also seen in the documentary, the early stage exploratory and drilling risks, so that the private sector can then come in and invest in the generation phase. We have also supported the first public-private partnership in the geothermal sector in Kenya. Now, these models are being replicated in 3 other plants under construction, and there is much wider scaling potential in Kenya and in the region. Resilience. This is our second most mature portfolio after transition, energy transition, our resilience portfolio. This is when we are talking about the pilot program for climate resilience. And here we have seen, or the teams have observed transformational impact, advanced transformational impact in terms of relevance and systemic change, and interim or early signals in terms of scale and sustainability. How have we supported transformational change in climate resilience? Basically through 2 main ways. One is creating the strong incentives for climate resilience mainstreaming and strengthening of national adaptation strategies. This through technical assistance to improve knowledge systems, but then again also through direct investments in resilience. Again, we have Niger here, where we have a very successful program thanks to all of the efforts of the government. We have Zambia, we have Mozambique. These are shining examples of what I'm talking about. The approach of the CIF, the business model of the CIF, was of working as partners with the countries and tailor the design of a strategic program for climate resilience to their own needs, to where the institutions were, to the pace that it was required for them to bring all of the relevant stakeholders together and come to an agreement about what a mainstreaming agenda should look like and how they were going to implement it. And then, after that, pilot investments that could then be replicated by the governments themselves or through other funding sources as well. The second main way was through attracting private and public finance, including, of course, from the MDBs, donors, and private investors. Zambia, you have heard it in the documentary as well. You will hear it from the representatives here. The minister, the honorable minister is here. Other colleagues are here as well. What has happened in Zambia is through the CIF support, working, of course, under the leadership of the government with all of the partners, climate was mainstreamed, climate change was mainstreamed in the 6th National Development Plan and in several sector strategies, agriculture, natural resources, transport, energy, housing, and more. What has this turned into? Even in addition to this, government ministries were required to allocate budgetary resources to climate resilience programs, and this carried forward to the next National Development Plan and supported also the 2016 National Policy on Climate Change. Forests. This is a program that is one of our most nascent, let's not say nascent, but is one of the less mature portfolios. It is also a sector that we know is a very complex sector. Nevertheless, the studies found that the CIFS model was highly relevant to transformational change because it has provided integrated solutions in this very difficult and slow-moving sector. I hope if you're interested in this topic that you go to the specific session on forestry and you can learn a lot more. I've said it many times, I had not worked in the forestry sector before my engagements with the CIF and was always amazed at how much complexity in delivering results one can have. And I think forestry really illustrates or exemplifies that. What the CIF business model has done is helped country actors to align around this common vision of what are the causes, the drivers of deforestation or forest degradation, and how do we go about tackling them in an integrated way. The other way that the teams have found transformational impact is through policy reforms. They have observed several policy reforms and new commitments to forest protection and the testing of new business models, which are very promising. Let me share the example of Mexico, which is again an example, as I said, where we actually observe all areas of transformational impact in the program. Mexico, is the Mexico team here? Mexico has done an extraordinary work in the forestry sector over many years. We were actually privileged and honored to be a partner and help you even achieve more. So part of what we have done, IDB and World Bank, is help provide access to finance to small and community forest enterprises and demonstrate that these investments can be financially viable. This model has been so successful that the forest area and the sustainable management in the areas where the program is operating has increased to 9.4 million hectares, and we have over 265,000 people that have benefited, including women and indigenous people. And let me leave you with this final metric, with a reported $7 million increase in income in 2016 alone. So let me now run quickly through the other key findings. Gender, a very important area of focus for us and, of course, for all of you. The studies have found that mainstreaming of gender considerations has improved over time in our focus of advancing women's voice, skills, and livelihoods. An example from Tajikistan, a highly vulnerable country to climate change, where migration leaves behind large numbers of households managed by women. One of our projects is increasing women's access to microcredit for climate-resilient activities, improving access to water for irrigation and drinking, and driving climate-smart agriculture, and changing the lives of these households and women. Now let's talk about the impact on the multilateral development banks themselves. This was one of the key strategic objectives when the CIFs were established, was to help the MDBs themselves get more familiar with these type of investments, mainstream them, scale up their engagement. How have we supported them? Basically through three main ways. One, building their own awareness, and this is a learning by doing process. Two, testing new concepts and developing new products. Examples, IDB's NDC Invest platform, or EBRD's lines of credit for climate resilience and energy efficiency. And third, pursuing riskier projects. We've talked about geothermal, and we've explained that. So fundamentally, over the past 10 years, we have helped the MDBs demonstrate that climate change can be a viable part of their core business, and it has become, and now they have continued to set up more and more ambitious targets and meeting them. So as we know, the multilateral climate finance architecture contains several funds. What the reports have found is that the CIF's design is unique among these climate funds, with programs that support transformational change. So I encourage you, I was very brief, I just focused on the key highlights. Again, I encourage you all to go to the sector-specific sessions to learn more. To conclude, we have spoken a lot about numbers, quantities, programs, and amazing developments. We know that what is truly important is people. It's impacting people's lives. That's also why we've made our documentary quite a lot about people. Impacts on people, impacts on institutions, impacts on sectors, impacts on countries. So with this in mind, I am looking forward to the enlightening conversations that we will have and the one that is about to start from our esteemed panelists. I hope, and I'm very convinced that these dialogues today, tomorrow, future dialogues will really be helping us make this extra effort necessary to convince one more person, one more leader from government, from private sector, from civil society, that the future that we can, that the only future we can hope for is one where we partner and we give all we have to head in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mafalda, for providing the oversight of these two reports. As we heard, we have an opportunity to dwell into them in specific sector or in specific side events and special sessions during the 2 days and get more information and meet, of course, the experts behind it as well. I'm going to ask my final panel now to join me here, and I will introduce you as you come up. Yes, I think so. It's in my program. Minister Chitame? Shit, yes, this one. That's how it is to be a minister, always surprises.
You will speak in Arabic?
That would be a surprise. Unfortunately.
You speak in Moroccan English.
I try my best. So we have Honorable Minister Aziz Rabah, the Minister of Energy, Mines and Sustainable Development from Morocco. Honorable Aishatou Boulame Kane from the Ministry of Planning, Niger. Honorable Alexander Chitame, the Minister of National Development Planning in Zambia. We have Ms. Marie-Françoise Marie-Nailly, World Bank Country Director for the Maghreb and Malta, Middle East and North Africa, and Ms. Kate Hughes, Director for International Climate and Energy, UK Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. That was a quick introduction. Time is short and people are waiting for lunch, but this has been an extraordinary morning, no doubt. We heard also now about these two reports, transformational change reports. A first reaction from each of you. Do you recognize the key points that these reports are presenting? And And can you give some experience from your own countries or organizations how these kind of impacts have played out? So please, Minister, if I can start with you.
Très brièvement, moi, je crois que les pays en voie de développement ont intérêt à mieux négocier les partenariats. Donc, je crois, pendant 10 ans de travail, on a bien négocié, on a choisi nos partenaires, des institutions financières qui ont bien travaillé avec notre pays, mais bien sûr des développeurs aujourd'hui qui aujourd'hui, ils ont dans leur CV, le Maroc est bien visible. Moi, je crois que lorsqu'on a négocié, on n'a pas uniquement négocié la technologie, mais on a négocié, si vous voulez, le package dans sa globalité. Et c'est ça qui fait le succès de certaines expériences dans ces différents pays qu'on vient de voir, mais en particulier dans notre pays, c'est qu'on a négocié le package, donc le financement, la technologie, les partenaires, et bien sûr, on a négocié à la fin le produit final qui doit être utilisé par l'Office de l'électricité, l'Office national de l'électricité. Donc ça, c'est un point qui est très important. Mais on n'a pas oublié, bien sûr, l'objectif au départ, c'était de contrôler, ou disons de maîtriser notre énergie ou notre développement. Mais bien sûr, on n'a pas oublié d'autres aspects. Donc le premier, ça a été dans le package, c'est l'impact sur l'environnement, sur le développement local. Il faut que la population s'approprie ces différents projets. Ça, c'est un point qui est très important et qui, à mon avis, ça, c'est un élément pour les pays africains, un élément auquel il faut accorder une importance particulière parce qu'on investit beaucoup dans des grands projets, comme les projets de transition énergétique, comme les projets, si vous voulez, de développement durable dans d'autres domaines, dans l'agriculture. Mais il faut que les communautés, si vous voulez, locales en bénéficient. Et ça, c'est un élément très important. D'ailleurs, le débat aujourd'hui à l'échelle internationale, c'est comment créer le trust, la confiance entre les grands projets de développement, et surtout dans ce domaine, et les populations locales. S'il n'y a pas cette confiance, à travers l'appropriation, à travers des projets de développement local, je crois que le gap va être énorme, le conflit se développera, et par la suite, peut-être il y aura des impacts néfastes sur ces différents projets. Ça, c'est un élément très important, et peut-être vous avez les chiffres à travers Mazen, quelles sont les différentes initiatives et les projets auxquels ont bénéficié donc les populations locales. Deuxième élément qui me paraît très important, c'est que on ne s'est pas limité à l'acquisition de la technologie, mais on a négocié aussi la recherche et le développement. C'est un point très important. Nous voulons à ce que notre pays soit visible dans le radar international dans ce domaine de climat d'une manière globale, transition énergétique d'une manière particulière, mais nous voulons aussi à ce que notre pays soit un des éléments de ce réseau mondial de recherche et développement. Et je crois que le développement durable, tout ce qui est l'économie du climat, entre parenthèses, l'économie verte, transition énergétique, permettent aux pays africains de développer une véritable plateforme de développement et de recherche. Troisième élément dans ce package, c'est qu'on a bien négocié, si vous voulez, entre parenthèses, local content. Ça veut dire comment peut-on, à travers ces grands projets de dizaines de milliards de dirhams, d'ici 2030, on est en train de parler de 40 milliards de dollars d'investissement. Comment peut-on avoir une industrie locale qui sera faite par les entreprises marocaines, mais aussi par les entreprises internationales qui décident de s'installer au Maroc. Et déjà, on commence à voir des usines, des panneaux solaires, des composantes éoliennes, mais nous voulons aller vers ce qu'on appelle les composantes intelligentes de cette transition, et que pas uniquement l'aspect, si vous voulez, aluminium, acier, mais aller vers même des aspects électroniques où il y a un peu d'intelligence. Moi, je crois que c'est un très bon deal entre les institutions de financement, ces différents programmes, et les choix au niveau local pour en faire une véritable économie, pas uniquement, disons, production d'électricité, mais une économie, disons, complète.
Thank you very much, Minister Rabah. I think, you really make the strong case, exactly the case that also Mafalda makes. You have to see this very comprehensively. It's not just about investment in the energy sector. It's much wider than that. It's actually building a society in many ways. And thank you for giving these very three clear points. Minister Kane, is this also something you recognize, or from the perspective of Niger, what can you add in terms of the conclusions that also these reports present in terms of transformative change? It's just to speak.
Merci beaucoup. Je dois commencer mon intervention par là où Mafalda a terminé. Tout ce que nous faisons, que nous soyons au niveau du ministère du Plan, que nous soyons au ministère de l'Environnement, que nous soyons au niveau local, que nous soyons au niveau régional, au niveau mondial, la Banque mondiale ou la BAD, c'est pour transformer la vie quotidienne d'êtres humains. Et dans le cas précis, en matière de climat, quand nous disons vulnérabilité, c'est des drames humains quotidiens dont il s'agit. Et le changement transformationnel vise à créer les conditions pour que les populations, donc les personnes, les individus qui sont concernés par ces drames puissent voir leur vie changer par un mieux-être, par un meilleur être et un bien-être. Et au Niger, l'expérience que nous avons eue avec SIF, à travers un programme que nous avons appelé un programme, disons, stratégique pour le développement de la résilience, a été réalisé à travers 4 sous-programmes. Un programme, 2 sous-programmes financés par, je dirais, le groupe Banque mondiale, donc la Banque mondiale elle-même et la SCFI, et 2 sous-programmes financés par la BAD, la Banque africaine de développement. Alors, à travers la mise en œuvre de ces programmes, nous avons atteint des résultats, et des résultats non seulement sur le plan stratégique, mais aussi des résultats, je dirais, à dimension humaine, dans le changement de la vie des gens au quotidien. Sur le plan stratégique, nous avons, à travers ces programmes, je dirais, acclimaté toutes nos stratégies et les programmes aussi. Que ce soit au niveau local, les conseils communaux ont adapté leur plan de développement local au climat. Que ce soit au niveau régional et que ce soit au niveau national, c'est-à-dire nos plans de développement économique et social, tout à l'heure le ministre de l'Environnement l'a dit, nous avons acclimaté au point où le dernier PDS que nous avons adopté fait de cette question du changement climatique un axe stratégique spécifique. Ça, c'est sur le plan stratégique. Sur le plan maintenant des résultats au point de vue des actions concrètes qui ont été menées sur le terrain, nous avons, je peux vous donner plusieurs exemples, si le temps le permet. Sur le plan socio-économique, nous avons amélioré la vie de 2 180 000 personnes, dont 49% de femmes. C'est-à-dire l'équilibre du genre là est respecté dès le départ. Nous pouvons vous citer beaucoup d'exemples de comment les gens ont vu leur vie changer à travers, parce que c'est 2 180 000, je dirais, exemples, comme celui du Ghana, le monsieur du Ghana, comme une Nigérienne, donc une femme qui a créé une entreprise pour cultiver le moringa, qui, en plus du fait que c'est une entreprise à travers laquelle elle gagne sa vie, mais c'est une entreprise aussi qui a un apport nutritionnel pour la société, parce que le moringa, tout le monde connaît les vertus du moringa. Nous avons aussi accru les rendements de la production, parce que chez nous, le problème se pose en ces termes. Et au point où je peux vous dire que sur le plan agricole, les rendements de la production sont accrus de 105%. Sur le plan pastoral, le Niger est un pays pastoral, nous avons accru les rendements de 38%. Comment? Par exemple, sur le plan agricole, nous avons développé, donc dans le cadre de ces programmes, des semences résilientes. Vous savez, avec les changements climatiques, les saisons de pluie chez nous se font de plus en plus courtes. Donc, il faut trouver des semences qui soient adaptées à ces changements climatiques. Ces semences résilientes, il faut bien sûr les promouvoir auprès des paysans. On connaît, les paysans, ils croient à ce qu'ils voient. Et je pense qu'ils ont vu la nécessité d'adapter ces semences résilientes. La preuve en est que nous avons accru le rendement. Les techniques d'irrigation aussi sont importantes. Donc, comment adapter des techniques d'irrigation qui vont permettre aux paysans d'augmenter leur rendement. Ensuite, la vulgarisation des produits agroclimatiques. Là, c'est une question qui, moi-même, puisque moi je suis dans le domaine du développement, mais quand j'ai été édifiée sur la façon dont les paysans se sont appropriés ces produits agroclimatiques, la météo, la pluviométrie, etc., comment il faut s'adapter à tout cela, je pense que c'est un résultat important. Il y a également les bonnes pratiques pour la gestion durable des terres et des eaux. Je pense que je ne vais pas m'attarder là-dessus, mais il y a aussi l'émergence du réseau et des plateformes multi-acteurs sur les questions du changement climatique. C'est très important parce que ça fait bouger la société. Ça fait bouger la société globalement, dans son ensemble, pour aller vers plus de résilience. Sur le plan de l'environnement, 60% de nos producteurs des zones concernées par le programme sont adoptés des pratiques, je dirais, pour améliorer les gestions durables des terres et de l'eau. En gros, ce que je dois dire, ce que dit le ministre marocain est vrai. Mais l'intervention que nous avons eue du CIF à travers tous ces programmes, c'est particulièrement le programme pilote pour la résilience climatique. Et à travers ces programmes, malgré tout, nous avons appréhendé les questions qui relèvent de l'énergie, qui relèvent de la nécessité de l'innovation dans le domaine de l'énergie ou dans d'autres domaines, parce que je pense que l'innovation, il ne faut pas l'avoir seulement, et ça c'est peut-être dans la seconde partie que je vais le dire, il ne faut pas l'avoir seulement dans le domaine énergétique. Il s'agit d'accélérer le développement. Il s'agit de sortir des millions de personnes de la pauvreté. Aujourd'hui, nous, au Niger, nous avons 45%, bon, un peu moins puisque nous sommes à la deuxième année, de taux de pauvreté. Nous voulons atteindre 31%. Nous ne pouvons pas le faire, c'est vrai, sans énergie. Mais nous ne pouvons pas aussi sans les nouvelles technologies de l'information. Je pense qu'il faut lier les deux. Il faut lier les deux. Quand on parle de village intelligent, c'est un tout. Il y a l'énergie, mais il y a aussi les nouvelles technologies de l'information. Donc, l'innovation dans les villages de manière générale. Je voudrais vous dire une anecdote. J'ai bien suivi le premier panel. J'ai bien suivi le rapport sur les changements transformationnels. Dans les années 80, nous regardions la télévision avec ma fille. Et puis, elle avait 10 ans. Et puis, on fait un reportage sur nos pays. C'est-à-dire, c'était l'époque des sécheresses où on montrait des choses terribles, des images terribles. Et j'étais là avec ma fille qui avait 10 ans. Elle me dit, mais maman, celui qui filme là, il ne peut pas aider les gens qu'il filme. C'est-à-dire, pour elle, c'est des gens qui ont faim, il faut les aider à ne plus avoir faim. Je lui ai dit, j'ai vraiment eu du mal à lui répondre. Mais je lui ai dit, le fait de les filmer, c'est déjà les aider. C'est déjà provoquer les conditions. Bon, là, elle ne peut pas comprendre ça, mais c'est ce que je lui ai dit. Je me suis arrêtée à ce qu'elle peut comprendre. Mais chaque fois qu'il y a ce genre de questions qui se présentent ici, je me dis, le fait de prendre en compte la dimension humaine le drame humain, le drame individuel que les gens vivent dans ces différents pays touchés par ces changements climatiques, c'est quelque chose d'important qu'il faut nécessairement envisager dans le cadre de toutes les questions qui ont été abordées depuis ce matin. Quand on dit 1,5 degré là, il ne faut pas voir 1,5 degré juste parce que c'est des chercheurs, des machins qui en parlent, mais il faut voir 1,5 degré, quel est l'impact sur le citoyen qui vit le drame. Merci.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much also for bringing in that very strong human dimension, really. If I can move now to Minister Chiteme, we also saw examples from Zambia in the film. What are your perspectives in terms of the transformational change report and some of the key recommendations, or key outcomes rather, that Mafalda was presenting, and how relevant is that also for Zambia?
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Well, the way I understand it is that we've got objectives from the report. And I should be proud from Zambia. I think we've achieved most, if not all, the objectives in that report. I'll begin with the way the government has managed to decentralize all these objectives of climate change from the national level to the very sub-national level to us, which means in our constituencies, in our wards. And we see that there's the human involvement, the individual person that is involved, that is making us, or our people, or our plans to be understood at the very bottom, so that those barriers at the bottom are broken down before we even come to make our national plans. Secondly, we looked at, as the chairman mentioned earlier before, we have mainstreamed our climate change policies, our ideas, our plans, into, first of all, our 6th National Development Plan, and going into our 7th National Development Plan. We made sure that we maintain not only the objective of safe, but also the SDGs. We have mainstreamed up to 86% of SDGs, including SDG number 7. So, which makes it very, very easy for us to make sure that our the climate change objectives are sieved through our national plans. We've also done our budget targeting, where we budget tracking, where we are tracking what resources we are putting into our budget, into our plans that are going to be seen through, and how much resources are being used and where they're being used. That has been done on a multi-secretarial approach, whereby we are not focusing on one ministry, which is a Ministry of Planning, or the Ministry of Environment, or the Ministry of Agriculture, but it's done from the central ministry, which is the Ministry of Planning, where all these things are being understood across the board. I also want to come back to the issue of private sector investment into the whole system. What I want to say about that is that for us, maybe that has been the only problem that we've got, because we haven't really managed to get private sector involvement into climate change, or buying into the climate change. Like was said before, we've got, let's say, a plan, and the plan is supposed to be financed both by the private sector and the public sector. Well, we've gone in as a public sector in terms of government, but then we are also trying to attract the private sector to come into and buy into our plans that mainstream climate change. The problem is that most of the private sector players are looking at return rather than impact. So we are looking at ways where we can streamline and get a win-win situation where we can have investment in terms of people coming to invest and they get the return, but also our people and the government get the impact that they need to come into the sectors, to come into and speak to climate change. That is where our only problem is. But otherwise, we have mainstreamed most of the climate change policies in our plans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also for bringing up the issue of return. You can say short-term investment versus long-term investments as well. And I think all three ministers very much confirm the outcomes of the report and the key messages there. The fact that you really need to see this from a systematic approach. Climate finance, yes. Energy finance, yes. But it has to be brought into a development perspective very clearly, where people are in the center.
Yeah, maybe just to amplify on that, and I'll give an example of a project that has been done under PPCR in Western Province of Zambia. It was a great project. It was successful, and it was seen that it can be scaled up. And when the World Bank saw that, they gave us not only a loan, they gave us a grant up to the tune of $14 million, just to make sure that the impact is felt and that we needed to scale up that project. So we're looking at investments that can come in, not only for return, but also for impact. Because when we look at the effects of climate change, they are not only being felt in the poor Africa, no, but this is a global thing. And the only place where you can do your mitigation is in Africa, because the rest of the world is concreted. There's concrete all over. You cannot grow trees. You cannot do anything. But it's the African continent that is bringing in mitigation.
Excellent. Thank you for bringing up that also very positive message, the possibilities. If I can turn to you, Marie-Françoise, we also heard about the impact that concessional climate finance from CIF, for instance, can have on development finance institutions as well. From that development finance perspective, what do you think that the lessons that we learn now from CIF mean for you as institutions, and how can you then sort of maximize impact, the resources that you have also with scarce public resources? What is it that you can do? What is the lessons learned here?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm very pleased to be here to celebrate the 10 years of the CIF, because 10 years ago, I was the country director for DRC, for the two Congos actually, and today I'm country director for Morocco, so it's really the road from the Congo River to the north of Sahara. First of all, I'd like to reinforce the point that the two ministers and Mafalda made on the impact on the people. Not only in terms of beneficiaries, but also for them to participate in the process. And I'll come on that when I will talk a little bit of my experience in DRC. I would say that clearly there are three elements. Obviously, everything resonates very well with me. There are three elements that I'm taking away. The first is really how the CIF has been a flexible mechanism to allow us to mobilize funding for really climate action, and how it has pushed us, all institutions, I think that it was really mentioned earlier, to go beyond and push ourselves up. So that is the first element. The second is indeed the coordinating approach, both among MDBs, but also on the government side. And the third element that I think that I would like to stress is having a champion. Who is driving that? So on the first part, of course, Morocco has been amply presented by the minister, by Mafalda, but being here and feeling it on the day-to-day, I want to reinforce it once more. And I think that what was interesting is that, as Mafalda mentioned, with 500 million of CIF, how we were able to mobilize the MDBs. My colleague Adama is there from ADB, but also the private sector. And what was interesting as part of that is that how we came up with simplified and harmonized procurement procedures to accelerate the process. So I think that that is a very interesting takeaway. The second is how indeed we are moving toward a more integrated approach to development. And Morocco has actually developed a sustainable development strategy that we are coming to support, and that goes beyond energy. There is an important nexus here in Morocco between water and energy, something that we are now looking at very closely, because Morocco is becoming a very water-stressed country, and we clearly see the connection between the two. But also in climate-smart agriculture, Morocco is leading in terms of adaptation with the initiative of the adaptation of African agriculture, actually that was launched last week here. So it's important to see how all these elements are coming together. In a couple of weeks, I will be in Washington presenting the new strategy of the World Bank for Morocco, and it's actually based on that, and we have a strong element of resilience throughout the strategy. Let me say a few words on my experience in DRC, and I think that my former partners, counterparts are in the room. I believe I saw them this morning. First of all, relating to the issue of champion, there was a Minister of Environment in 2008, and by the way, I also forgot to mention that in 2008, it was before Copenhagen, so we have come a long way, I believe, up to COP21 and 22 here. So we had a minister that was able to see the value of the CIF instrument to bring together the actors to define an action plan, to submit to the FIP, to do some transformation. And in the case of the DRC, we are talking of forestry, and Mafalda mentioned the challenges of the forestry environment. How do you mobilize communities that are very diverse in the various parts of the country? How do you come with tools to improve land management? We have the issue of deforestation. How do you bring new techniques? Because very often, trees are used for cooking, as a cooking fuel for women. So bringing new cooking techniques, cooking stoves. So bringing all these elements around an action plan was quite challenging and quite interesting. And I understand that since a lot has happened, and I'm particularly pleased to see how CIF came, exactly as you said, Madam Minister, to help the communities define their needs and participate in the formulation and the implementation of the program. So these are the really elements that I'm taking on that. But to summarize, having a champion, here in Morocco we had Mazen, the chairman has left, as I was going to mention his name, in DRC, in many countries. How we come as partners at MDDs to leverage these resources and amplify it. I think that in the case of Nord, the ratio is almost 1 to 10. And thirdly, how, building on that, we help to scale up and, more important, embed in the national strategies.
Okay, thank you very much. Interesting again, I mean, you're pushing the fact that you need to really start early working with communities. You cannot just come in at a late stage. You really need to involve people from the start. Interesting also with the multi-sector approach, the nexus between food, energy and water, for instance, is absolutely critical. So that's also a perspective, again, that is championed by the CIF and others. So Kate, moving to you, the final word actually in the morning session. Coming from also the UK Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, that's a quite comprehensive background to a certain extent. The role of business we talked a lot about here as well. So some of these outcomes, some of these conclusions from the report, how do they resonate with you and what do you think is particularly important to move forward?
Thank you, and like others, thank you very much. It's a great honour to be here and to be part of this event. My personal journey with the CIF started back in 2012, so I know to many of you I'm still pretty much a newcomer. But I think the UK was one of the countries involved right at the beginning in coming up with the idea of the climate investment funds for exactly the reasons that we're now sat here hearing about, to deliver that change, to deliver that scale, to deliver that ambition across a range of countries, across a range of sectors. And so I'm really proud that the UK was there at the beginning, using our international climate finance to support this. And similarly, that actually we've been a huge advocate of pushing for the evaluation on this, to actually understand how do we deliver transformational change? What does that mean? Are we actually being successful? Because in the same way, if you don't involve communities and people at the beginning of this journey, actually, if you don't start evaluating early on, then you can't understand what's working and you can't understand what isn't working. You can't course correct, you can't improve, and you can't actually make the changes that we all need to see at that big macro level as well as at the small individual community and person level as well. So it's great to be here as part of this and to see this evaluation actually come through. You've actually got to be quite ambitious and brave and courageous to undertake evaluation too, because you might hear things that you don't want to hear. You've got to hear about the failures as well as the successes. You've got to hear about actually the things that need to change and the things that you need to do better. But if you aren't doing that evaluation, and this is what I think really resonates for me in everything that we do domestically and internationally, is that you don't start to hear these stories. You don't start to hear the fantastic changes that are being achieved in Zambia, in Niger, in Morocco. And it's by hearing about those stories and learning from them that actually we can share those successes and move onwards. And I just want to sort of also take a step back and say it also resonates, this journey, because actually we're also celebrating a 10-year anniversary in the UK as well. It's 10 years of our Climate Change Act, which brought huge cross-party political support. We put in place carbon budgets, predictability, and it's very much that same message that we're hearing here today about you need the right mechanisms coming together. This isn't just about investment, important as that is, but having the policy foundations, having that predictability, having certainty about building capacity and capability. And that's been important in the UK as much as I know it is in other countries as well. And that has actually then pulled together the opportunity that people have been talking about. This is about prosperity. This is about economic growth. This is about jobs. This is about making our countries better, the lives of our people better, their health better, as well as improving our economies and chances as well. So all of that resonates domestically as well as internationally, and the fact that you need that partnership to do it. And we're seeing results. Domestically, we're thinking big in terms of what we're doing, but actually I think it's what resonates as well is the need here that we're seeing in the SIFs, and Mafalda talked about it, to think big. And I remember back in some CTF meetings in 2013 seeing the proposal for this very plant being projected onto a screen, and it was a computer-generated image. And we were all sat there amazed at the ambition and the scale that was being considered. And it is fantastic now to be sat here actually with it having been built. And it isn't just a computer-generated model anymore. And I think that shows you that you have to think big, but you also have to think long-term. These things take time, and we need to work together in order to achieve those objectives. So I was also asked what surprised me, and these are a couple of personal reflections. There's a lot that doesn't. I'm not surprised, given what I've seen from the SIFs, the changes that have been achieved in lots of countries. But the things that kind of struck me during my time in the SIFs are when I first came in and asked about how do the MDBs work together, and everyone sort of sucked their teeth. Well, the MDBs don't work together. But here they do. In the climate investment funds, they really do. And it staggered me that that was actually groundbreaking, but it was. And I think actually that's been a huge lesson for the MDBs, and taking that and then mainstreaming the lessons that they've learned from the work here, from working with countries, from that country ownership, from the programmatic approach, and embedding it back into what they're doing is wonderful. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. And this is a good thing. I'm constantly surprised by the people, and it's so great that actually on this panel and the video that we saw, we've come back to people, because that is what it's all about. I am constantly surprised by the commitment, the motivation, the knowledge of everyone here, from Mafalda and everyone in the SIF admin unit, to the people who've done this piece of research, to everyone in the countries, the indigenous communities, the people who come to the committee meetings, the civil society observers who also play a huge part in this, all the way through to the indigenous communities, the technocrats we talked about earlier, and the engineers are all hugely important. And one of my abiding memories of the SIFs is when we were in Jamaica, actually everyone sharing these lessons together. This isn't a competition. This is actually everyone coming together to make these things better. And I remember being in Jamaica, and we'd just passed the Armenian SREP country plan, and the celebration and the lesson learning that was already taken place between Armenia, Kenya and Nepal, 3 very different countries, but all excited by each other's success and wanting to learn from each other in order to achieve that ambition. And just to leave with one final thought, because I think it is, again, all about the people, and the thing for me is about inspiring change amongst us here today, back in our governments, back at the national level, back at the global level as well, but also down to the individual people. So sorry, this is a slightly peculiar story, but right next to the office where I work is a wonderful falafel stall. If you ever come to London, I'll tell you where it is. And the people who run it are from Morocco. And we were chatting one day, and I told them that I worked on climate change. And they said, did you know about the most fantastic ambition that was happening in Morocco. Had I heard about this concentrated solar plant called Noor in Ouarzazate? And so this man in London selling falafels was proud. He was inspired by what was going on in Morocco, and he was telling the world about it. And I was proud to be able to say, actually, yes, I do know about it, and it's a fantastic example, and we're part of it, and I'm going to go and visit it. And I got a free falafel, which was even better. But I think the point is, actually, by inspiring people, by telling these stories, by sharing this success, actually, that's how we can make that transformational change. We start to embed it. We start to know that it can happen. We know that it's difficult, but we can come together and actually really make that difference. Thank you.
I think that is a perfect, a perfect final point also for the panel. We can make the difference. We can make the change. I still must say, I really like what you said in the beginning. We have to evaluate. We have to make sure we do the right thing. This is sometimes a contrast. You know, we have to act quickly. You know, it's very urgent. But we can't afford to act the wrong way either. We can't afford the wrong investments. So that balance is very, very critical. How do you feel? Oh. First of all, an amazing panel. Give them a warm applause. And I must say, an amazing audience, sitting here since 9 o'clock this morning, remaining in the room completely voluntarily, I know that. So I want to thank you all for that. There will be lunch outside, I think to the right, yes, outside. We will meet for a plenary again at 5:45, but between that, we have all these fantastic breakout sessions, you know, where you have a chance to dwell into the issues we discussed this morning and really ask questions and meet the experts, meet the technocrats, and, you know, all these people that make a difference. And I also received a note to make us even more happy. Please note that all the times remain, so these sessions will start on time. I won't tell you what time, 1:15. So we will try to keep the agenda, but please grab some food also. And thank you very much for this morning, and see you later this afternoon.
Good.
Thank you.
Good, good.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm sorry it was a bit...